if I use my power, I can even stop you from getting that job, and if you don't like it, just apologize to me." I couldn't help but laugh at his words. "Fine, go ahead and try," I said. "My name is Mary, and I'm a new mom struggling to adjust, but the person who should be struggling with me, my husband, isn't around to help." To be honest, I didn't fully see who my husband really was until I got pregnant. He's older than me by 6 years and was already a senior employee when we met. At work, he came across as smart, hardworking, calm, and kind. When he became my supervisor, we got to know each other better, which eventually led to marriage. I was still early in my career, but I was so in love with him and thrilled to marry someone I admired. In our company, it wasn't unusual for colleagues to marry. However, company rules didn't allow us to work in the same department after getting married. After a lot of discussion, it was decided that I'd transfer to another department. I had a patent attorney license, something I worked really hard to get in college. Thanks to that, I was able to move to the legal department at the head office. As a new hire, I spent my first year rotating between departments to learn how the company worked. That's how I ended up in the sales department, where my husband worked, but after our marriage, I was moved to legal earlier than planned. 5 years later, I wasn't feeling well and decided to visit the doctor. That's when I found out I was 4 months pregnant. We had been letting nature take its course, so this news made us happy, but as my pregnancy progressed into the second trimester, my morning sickness came back, and I had to take 3 months off work. That's when my husband's true nature came out. "Are you just lying in bed?" he'd ask. "I'm too anemic to stand up," I'd reply. "Then what about dinner? You're asking me to do that now?" When I was working, we shared all the housework equally, but as soon as I had to take leave, he left everything to me, even though I could barely function. "You're home all day, and you don't do a single chore. Can you please stop? You're making me feel worse." "That's not about anemia, that's a mental issue. You're just using your pregnancy as an excuse to be lazy." My husband would sit in the living room, watching TV at full volume, completely ignoring me while I lay in bed. Worse, he would leave the door to my room wide open, letting the noise from the TV flood in on purpose. "Please close the door," I'd ask, loud enough for him to hear, but he never listened. This was when I saw another side of my husband. He would sit in front of the TV, constantly criticizing the people on the screen. "Why is she even on TV? She's so ugly. Wow, look at how fat she is. That guy's got some nerve." He never stopped complaining, and it seemed like that was his way of enjoying TV. Fine, he could say whatever he wanted, but why did he have to keep the door open so I could hear it too? "Close the door, please," I repeated. But he ignored me. Just as before, the TV blared, and his constant grumbling filled the house. I couldn't take it anymore. I got up, shut the door myself, and went back to bed, but before I could even get comfortable, he opened the door again. "Why did you open it?" I snapped. He didn't answer, just kept watching TV as if I wasn't even there. I had reached my limit. I called my parents and explained everything. My mom immediately told me to come home so I could rest and recover. The moment I arrived at my parents' house, I felt like I could finally breathe. It was the perfect place to heal. They made sure I had 3 healthy meals every day, and the house was calm and peaceful. My parents and my 2 younger sisters took care of me like I was fragile. Every day, my sisters would rush home from school to check on me. "How are you feeling?" they'd ask, their concern so genuine it made me tear up. Slowly, my health improved. I even started joining the family for meals in the dining room. "Lunch is ready," my mom said one day. "Thank you," I replied. "Do you mind if I turn on the TV?" "Go ahead," I said with a small smile. We sat together, watching a light-hearted show. My mom chuckled at the comedian on the screen. "This guy is hilarious. Once the baby's born and you're feeling better, we should visit this shopping arcade." Her laughter was so warm and natural that I started crying without realizing it. My mom noticed and looked at me, startled. "Why are you crying?" When I sniffled, my mom grew concerned. "What's wrong? Are you sick?" "No, I'm fine," I said, trying to hold back tears. "Tell me what's wrong," she urged gently. "I don't like living with Nico," I admitted. "Oh," she said, "why?" I opened up and told her everything. She listened quietly, without interrupting. "He keeps opening the door to my room on purpose, even when it's so loud, and when I close it, he just opens it again. He's always complaining about the TV. I want to laugh with him, The way I laugh with you. My mom frowned. That's not good, especially with a baby on the way. I can't stand the thought of him acting like this in front of our child, I said. You need to talk to him, my mom suggested. I don't want to see him anymore, I blurted out. Mary, you're going to be a mother. You can't just walk away without trying. You have a child to think about, she reminded me. You're right, I sighed. For the sake of my baby, I decided to have a serious talk with Nico. After recovering, I took only 2 months off work and then returned to my job. I also went back to the house I shared with Nico. When I got there, the house was surprisingly clean. It seemed like he had been managing fine on his own, except for one thing, the smell. Is this my pregnancy making me sensitive to smells? I wondered. But when I opened the door to my room, I saw the source of the odor. My room was a disaster zone. Garbage and dirty dishes were scattered everywhere. It was like a dump. Did he eat in here? I thought in disbelief. Just then, Nico came home. What, you're back? He said, looking annoyed. What's all this? I asked, pointing to the mess in my room. What's what? He replied carelessly. My room, why is it like this? Oh, that? It's your punishment for neglecting your chores, not taking care of me, and running off to your parents' house. I stared at him in shock. And by the way, he continued, you've gained weight, don't get any fatter, or I'll divorce you. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You weren't like this before I got pregnant. Why are you acting this way now? I've always been like this, he said smugly, you just didn't notice. If you keep neglecting me, faking sickness, or running back to your parents, I'll punish you again, he added. And what about our child? I asked, desperate to find some reason in him. Huh? The baby, shouldn't we put our child first? He laughed mockingly, you're so stupid. Of course, I come first, the baby comes second. Now, go make dinner. That was the last straw. I'm moving back to my parents' house, I said firmly. Go ahead, he sneered, but you'll just get punished again. It was clear we couldn't have a real conversation. That was when I made my decision. I was done. I was going to divorce him. I went back to my parents' house and told them everything. I never expected things to get this bad, I said. What can I say? He's a twisted jerk, my dad muttered. No, he's a twisted scumbag, my younger sister chimed in. My family's support made me smile for the first time in a while. With their warmth and care, my baby and I were fine. Time passed, and I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Though I was told I could take a year of parental leave, with my mom's help, I returned to work after just 6 months. I worked hard for my son, determined to provide him with a good life. One day, on my day off, I decided to go back to Nico's house to finalize our divorce. When he saw me, he smirked and waved the divorce papers in front of me. I'm divorcing a fat wife like you. Here's the paperwork, he said, grinning wickedly. Perfect, I said, reaching for the papers. You're faster than I thought. Let's get it done. But before I could take them, he crumpled them up. What are you doing? I asked, annoyed. Wait, listen to me first, he said, looking desperate. What? Look at me. No, you just said you wanted to divorce me. Now let's do it. You won't be able to live without me, he declared. Actually, I've done just fine without you these past 6 months. Life has been peaceful. I'm a salesman, he shouted. So? I bring work to the company. Without me, none of you would even have jobs. Are you serious right now? I asked, rolling my eyes. A company is only as good as its salespeople. You should respect me. Okay, I said, pulling out the divorce papers from my bag. Just sign these. He grabbed for the papers, trying to tear them up. What do you think will happen if you tear them up? I asked calmly, stopping him in his tracks. Then I pulled out a voice recorder and my phone from my bag. I've recorded everything you just said, I told him. He snatched the recorder from my hand, but I didn't flinch. My phone is connected to a colleague, I lied smoothly. Even if you destroy the voice recorder, they've already heard everything, and if you don't sign, I'll help them file a complaint against you in the sales department. I stared at him. So what's it going to be? Sign the papers, or make it worse for yourself? Defeated, he nodded and filled out the divorce papers. I don't want any alimony or child support, just stay away from us, I told him firmly. Fine, he muttered. I grabbed the signed papers and left without looking back. Thanks, Mom, I said into my phone. It's okay, Just head to the city office and get it filed, she replied. I had been on the phone with her the whole time, letting her listen in case anything went wrong. Thankfully, Nico never figured out I was bluffing. Though I could have gotten help from my colleagues, I didn't want to involve him. As much as I hated Nico, he was someone I had once loved. I couldn't destroy his career, even after everything he'd done. But in the end, his actions made me realize my mercy had been wasted. After the divorce was finalized, rumors about me spread like wildfire. My ex-husband didn't waste a second, calling me a terrible wife, accusing me of harassment, and painting himself as the victim. He used every possible opportunity to tarnish my name, but I stayed silent. They say mothers are strong women, I reminded myself. For my child's sake, I refused to let his words bring me down. The only mistake I ever made was being blind to the kind of man he was. Unfortunately, sympathy for him grew in the sales department. One day, I was washing my cup in the office break room when I heard his voice behind me. Hey, he said. I turned around, surprised. What do you want? I came to see you, he said, grinning smugly. Why? I asked bluntly. You're in trouble right now, he said, leaning against the counter. What trouble? Everyone at the company thinks you're the bad one, he said, trying to sound intimidating. I shrugged. Okay. His smirk faltered. He had expected me to be upset. I've got work to do. Bye, I said, turning to leave. But he stepped in front of me, blocking my path. That's what happens when you piss me off, he sneered. So, what exactly do you mean by that? I asked, unfazed. His confidence wavered at my calm response. You're getting a bad reputation in the company, he snapped, trying again. And? Isn't that a problem for you? Not at all, I replied, smiling. His frustration grew. If I wanted to, I could use my influence to ruin your career. If you don't like it, just apologize to me. I couldn't help but laugh. Go ahead, I said. Do you even know what my job is? Only people in the development department could make my job harder. And guess what? I'm a patent attorney. You're a sales manager. Our roles don't overlap at all. You have no power here. Oh, so you think you can get a patent just by talking to me? My ex-husband sneered. You'll never get it. If you're going to apply for a patent, don't bother doing it with me. Then, he suddenly grabbed my cup and swung it in the air, as if to hit me. I shut my eyes quickly, bracing for impact. Enough, I heard a new voice shout. I opened my eyes to see the general sales manager and the general manager grabbing my ex-husband by the arms. I thought this was just a lover's quarrel, but I was wrong, the general manager said, looking surprised. My ex-husband stood frozen, staring at the managers. The general manager turned to me. Are you okay? I'm fine, I replied, still in shock. Stop yelling. We could hear you all the way from the conference room, the general manager scolded my ex-husband. The managers escorted him out, and that was the last time I saw him at the company. He resigned voluntarily after that. It turned out, the conference room where the managers were holding their regular meeting was right next to the hot water supply room. The managers, including the general manager of sales and the deputy general manager from the legal department, could hear everything. My ex-husband, angry at my calm response, shouted insults, and everyone in the meeting overheard him. His lies about me being a moral harasser and a bad wife were exposed. The tables had turned. He went from making me the villain to being seen as the power-hungry, abusive husband. He couldn't handle it. In the end, the mercy I had shown him was destroyed by his own actions. As for what happened to him after that, I don't know. I'm just glad he's out of my life. The truth always comes out. Now, with my ex-husband gone, my stress is gone too. I'm focusing on working harder and becoming a mother my son can be proud of. As for my ex-husband, looking back, I think everything he did was pointless. But I'm just glad Mary is doing better.
The black dress felt like armor as I stood at the entrance of the funeral home, my hand trembling on the brass door handle. I'd rehearsed this moment countless times since receiving the call about Dad's passing, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened next. Only family is allowed here. The sharp voice cut through the somber atmosphere like a knife. Poppy, my stepmother of 3 years, blocked the doorway with her perfectly manicured hand. Her face was a mask of false grief, not a single tear smudging her immaculate makeup. I'm Stephanie, and this was supposed to be my father's funeral. The father who raised me alone after Mom died, who taught me to ride a bike, who cried at my college graduation. And here I was, being denied entry to say goodbye. I am family, I managed to say, my voice stronger than I felt. He was my father. Poppy's lips curved into a cruel smile. Was being the operative word, dear. I'm his wife, and I make the decisions now. We're keeping this intimate. Behind her, I could see familiar faces filling the chapel. Friends from Dad's golf club, distant relatives I barely knew, even her yoga instructor. My blood boiled. You've got to be kidding me, I said, taking a step forward. That's Derek from Dad's accounting firm. He met him twice. Stephanie, a familiar voice called out. My cousin Rebecca pushed past Poppy, wrapping me in a tight hug. I've been looking everywhere for you. Poppy's facade cracked slightly. She couldn't stop Rebecca without making a scene, and she lived for maintaining appearances. Let her in, a deep voice commanded. Hassan, Dad's lawyer, appeared beside Poppy. His presence carried authority that even she couldn't ignore. Mr. Kelly specifically requested his daughter's presence in his final arrangements. Poppy's nostrils flared, but she stepped aside. As I walked past her, she whispered, "Enjoy the show. There won't be much left for Daddy's little girl." The service was a blur of faces and voices. I sat in the front row, Rebecca's hand squeezing mine, as speakers shared memories of Dad. Poppy played the grieving widow perfectly, dabbing at dry eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. During the eulogy, I noticed Brian, Dad's friend from the country club, watching me intently. He whispered something to Poppy, who nodded slightly. The exchange made my skin crawl. After the service, Hassan approached me. "Stephanie, we need to discuss the will reading tomorrow. Your father left specific instructions." "What kind of instructions?" I asked, noticing how Poppy suddenly appeared interested in our conversation. "Everything will be clear tomorrow," Hassan said carefully. "Just know that your father was prepared." Poppy interrupted, placing her hand on Hassan's arm. "Surely we can handle this privately, Hassan. No need to burden Stephanie with these matters so soon after her loss." Hassan removed her hand firmly. "The reading is at 2 p.m. tomorrow. All parties must be present." As people began filtering out, Rebecca pulled me aside. "Something's not right, Steph. Have you seen the estate lately? Poppy's been spending money like water. That tennis court she built last month? The new pool house?" I hadn't visited the estate since Dad married Poppy. The few times I tried, she'd made excuses about Dad being too busy or too tired. "She's up to something," Rebecca continued. "And Brian's involved. I overheard them talking about offshore accounts last week." Before I could respond, Hassan pressed an envelope into my hands. "Your father wanted you to have this before tomorrow's reading. Don't open it until you're alone." The envelope felt heavy, like it carried more than just paper. As I left the funeral home, Poppy's voice carried across the parking lot. "Don't forget to check your mailbox, dear. I sent you a lovely sympathy card." The mockery in her tone made my decision clear. Dad had built his legacy from nothing, working countless hours to create something meaningful. I wouldn't let Poppy destroy that. In my car, I held the envelope Hassan had given me, feeling its weight. Whatever was inside, I knew it was the key to understanding what was really going on. Dad had always told me to trust my instincts, and right now they were screaming that this was just the beginning. Rebecca texted me, "Coming over tonight. Don't do anything until I get there. And Steph, Dad would be proud of how you handled today." I started the car, catching a glimpse of Poppy watching from the funeral home steps. She raised her hand in a wave that felt more like a warning. But she had no idea who she was dealing with. I wasn't just Daddy's little girl anymore. I was his daughter, and I would protect everything he stood for. The envelope sat heavy in my purse as I drove home, carrying what I hoped were the answers I needed to set things right. The law office felt colder than usual as we gathered for the reading of Dad's will. Poppy sat across from me, wearing a black designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary. Rebecca squeezed my hand under the table as Hassan entered with a thick folder. "Before we begin," Hassan said, adjusting his glasses, "I want to note that Thomas was very specific about how this meeting should proceed." I'd spent the night reading Dad's letter repeatedly. It contained just 3 words: trust the process. Classic Dad, always teaching lessons even from beyond. Hassan cleared his throat. "To my beloved wife, Poppy," he began reading, and I watched her lips curl into a satisfied smile. "I leave you the contents of our joint account, totaling approximately $250,000. Poppy's smile faltered. "That's impossible. There must be more." "To my daughter, Stephanie," Hassan continued, ignoring her interruption, "I leave the following: full ownership of Kelly Enterprises, all remaining financial assets, and complete control of the family estate." "What?" Poppy shot to her feet. "This is ridiculous. I was his wife." "There's more," Hassan said firmly. "A special clause states that any financial decisions regarding the estate must receive Stephanie's written approval. This includes any transactions made in the past 3 months. The colour drained from Poppy's face. "The past 3 months? He can't do that retroactively." "Actually, he can," Hassan replied, sliding a document across the table. "As the majority shareholder, he put this clause into effect 90 days ago. All transactions during this period require review and approval." Brian, who had been quietly observing, suddenly looked uncomfortable. "Surely there's room for negotiation." "There's also mention of a hidden asset," Hassan added, "known only as the Marina Project." Poppy's hand trembled as she reached for her water glass. I'd never seen her lose composure like this. "What's the Marina Project?" I asked. "That information will be revealed once all recent transactions are properly audited," Hassan explained. "Your father was very thorough in his planning." Rebecca leaned forward. "So, all those renovations you've been doing, Poppy, the new cars, they needed Stephanie's approval." "This is absurd," Poppy snapped. "I was taking care of Thomas's estate as his wife. By spending millions on luxury items." I finally spoke up. "Dad lived modestly his entire life. The only thing he splurged on was my education." Poppy's eyes narrowed. "You have no idea what your father wanted. We discussed everything." "Then you won't mind showing me the paperwork for all these discussions," I replied calmly. "Hassan, I'd like a full audit of all accounts and transactions from the past 3 months." "You can't do this to me," Poppy hissed. "I made your father happy." "You made him a stranger," I corrected her. "I couldn't even visit him in his final months because you always had an excuse." Brian stood up. "Perhaps we should take a break." "Sit down," Hassan commanded. "There's one final item." Thomas left a video message. He pressed play on his laptop, and suddenly, Dad's face filled the screen. He looked tired but determined. "Stephanie, if you're watching this, I'm sorry I couldn't tell you everything in person, but I needed to protect what I built. The Marina Project contains everything you need to know. Hassan will guide you. And Poppy," he paused, his expression hardening. "I know about Beatrice," Poppy gasped audibly. Next to her, Brian shifted uncomfortably. "What's he talking about?" I demanded. "Who's Beatrice?" "Meeting adjourned," Hassan announced. "Stephanie, please stay behind. We have documents to sign." As Poppy stormed out, Rebecca caught her arm. "Those designer bags you bought last week, better keep the receipts." Once they left, Hassan handed me a USB drive. "Your father recorded everything, Stephanie, but be careful. What you'll find, it's bigger than just Poppy's spending." "The Marina Project?" I asked. "Is a trap," he smiled slightly. "Your father suspected something was wrong months ago. He set this up to protect you and the company." Rebecca, who had stayed behind, pulled out her phone. "You should see this, Steph. Poppy's sister Beatrice just posted about her new vacation home. Guess who paid for it?" I took the USB drive, feeling its weight in my palm. Dad always said the truth comes with receipts. "Be careful," Hassan warned. "Poppy won't go down without a fight." As we left the office, I noticed Brian making a heated phone call in the parking lot. He turned away when he saw me, but I caught 2 words. "She knows." Rebecca linked her arm through mine. Ready to dive into that USB drive? I nodded, thinking of Dad's words. Trust the process. Let's see what other surprises my father left behind. The Marina project was waiting, and with it, the truth about what really happened in Dad's final months. Poppy thought she had won, but she didn't know my father like I did. He always played the long game. Rebecca and I huddled around my laptop as I inserted the USB drive. My hands shook slightly as folders appeared on screen. Financial records, surveillance, and one simply labelled Marina. Look at this, Rebecca pointed to a series of screenshots. Bank transfers from the company account to something called BF Consulting. BF, I muttered. Beatrice Fleming, Poppy's sister. A knock at my door made us both jump. Through the peephole, I saw Brian standing there, shifting nervously. What do you want? I called through the door. Just to talk, Stephanie. 5 minutes. It's about your father. I glanced at Rebecca, who shook her head, but something in his voice made me open the door. Make it quick, I said, blocking the entrance. Brian looked exhausted, his usual polished appearance dishevelled. You need to be careful. Poppy, she's not who you think she is. Really? And who are you in all this? Her faithful messenger? He ran a hand through his hair. I was your father's friend first. He asked me to keep an eye on things, but it got complicated. Complicated how? The Marina project isn't just a development deal. It's... A car horn blared outside. Brian jumped, looking over his shoulder. I've said too much, just check the security footage from March 15th, your father's office. Before I could respond, he hurried away. Through the window, I watched him climb into a black SUV where someone waited in the driver's seat. Well, that was weird, Rebecca said, already searching for the March 15th footage. The video showed Dad's office at night. Poppy entered, followed by a woman I recognized from photos as Beatrice. They went straight to Dad's safe. Turn up the volume, I whispered. Oh, can't keep stalling, Beatrice was saying. The investors want answers about the Marina. Thomas suspects something, Poppy replied, trying combinations on the safe. He's changed all the passwords, moved accounts around. Then get rid of him faster. The deadline's approaching and we need those documents. I felt sick. Rebecca paused the video, her face pale. Steph, the date on this? It's 2 weeks before your dad's heart attack. My phone buzzed. A text from Hassan. Found something. Meet me at the office. Now. 20 minutes later, we sat in Hassan's office as he spread documents across his desk. Your father came to me about suspicious activities at the company, large sums being diverted through shell corporations, all linked to BF Consulting. Beatrice Fleming, I confirmed. Yes, but it goes deeper. She's involved with some questionable real estate developers. The Marina project was supposed to be your father's crowning achievement, affordable housing for seniors. But Poppy and Beatrice had other plans. Luxury condos, Rebecca guessed, scanning through papers. With inflated costs and kickbacks, Hassan nodded. Your father discovered their scheme and started gathering evidence. That's when things went wrong. A familiar voice interrupted us. Still working late, Hassan? Poppy stood in the doorway, Beatrice beside her. My stomach churned at seeing them together, knowing what I now knew. Just catching up on paperwork, Hassan said smoothly, subtly sliding documents into a folder. How convenient, Poppy smiled coldly. Stephanie dear, I was hoping we could talk about your father's wishes. His wishes seem pretty clear from the will, I replied. Things aren't always what they seem, Beatrice stepped forward. Sometimes papers get mixed up, signatures get confused. Is that a threat? Rebecca stood up. A reality check, Poppy corrected. Stephanie, be reasonable. You know nothing about running a company. Let the adults handle this. I thought of Dad's video message, his tired eyes, his warning. You're right. I don't know everything about running a company, but I know enough about right and wrong. Your father had a weak heart, Beatrice said quietly. Stress can be unpredictable. The implication hung heavy in the air. Hassan's hand moved toward his phone. We'll be in touch. Poppy said, turning to leave. Oh, and Stephanie, that footage you're so interested in? Technology can be so unreliable. Files corrupt, servers crash. After they left, Hassan immediately called security to guard the evidence room. They're getting desperate, he observed. Good, I said, my voice hard. Because now we know what really happened to Dad. Rebecca squeezed my shoulder. We need to move faster. If they're willing to threaten you openly, they won't stop, Hassan agreed. But neither will we. Your father left one more safeguard, something even I don't know about. He called it the final receipt. I opened the Marina folder on the USB drive, understanding flooding through me. Dad hadn't just left evidence, he'd left a trail of breadcrumbs leading straight to the truth. Time to go hunting, I said, thinking of Poppy's smug face. The woman who thought she'd won everything was about to lose it all. The Marina Project files revealed a web of deception that made my blood boil. Fake contracts, inflated costs, and a trail of money leading to offshore accounts. But it was the last document that stopped me cold. A medical report from Dad's personal physician dated 3 days before his death. No signs of heart disease, I read aloud to Rebecca. Perfect health for his age. My phone rang. Poppy's name flashed on the screen. What do you want? I answered. Dinner. Tonight. Just us girls. Her voice dripped honey. The estate at 7. There are things you should know about your father. Rebecca shook her head frantically, but I already knew my answer. I'll be there. Are you crazy? Rebecca exploded after I hung up. After what we just found? I'm wearing a wire, I said. Hassan arranged it. We need her to talk. The estate looked different as I drove up. Colder, somehow. Poppy answered the door in a silk robe, champagne glass in hand. Stephanie, darling, come in. Beatrice is joining us. Of course she was. They led me to the dining room, where Dad's favourite vintage wines were laid out like props in their performance. Your father, Poppy began, pouring wine I didn't touch, was a complicated man. Really? He seemed pretty straightforward to me. Beatrice laughed softly. Oh, honey, you didn't know him like we did. You mean you didn't know him at all? I countered. Tell me about BF Consulting. The sisters exchanged glances. A legitimate business venture, Beatrice said carefully. Like the Marina Project, those fake contracts must have taken ages to forge. Poppy's glass froze halfway to her lips. Careful, dear. Some things are better left buried. Like Dad's medical records, the ones showing no heart problems. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Beatrice's smile became fixed. You're in over your head, Poppy said quietly. Walk away now. Take a generous settlement. Live your life. Or what? I'll have a convenient accident? Things happen, Beatrice shrugged. Companies fail. Files disappear. People disappear. I stood up slowly. Is that what happened to Dad? Did he disappear when he found out what you were doing? Your father was weak, Poppy spat, mask finally slipping. He wanted to throw away everything we'd built because of his precious conscience. You mean everything he built, while you were planning to steal it? Steal? Beatrice laughed. We improved it. Those luxury condos would have made millions more than his ridiculous affordable housing plan. And the kickbacks from the developers? I pressed. The money laundering through BF Consulting. Enough, Poppy slammed her hand on the table. You want to play hardball? Fine. Check your email tomorrow. Those photos of you and that married professor in college might interest the board. I smiled. Blackmail? Really? I was 20, and he was my thesis advisor. Nothing happened. But this conversation? Very interesting. I pulled out my phone, stopping the recording app. Their faces went pale. You little... Beatrice lunged for the phone. It's already uploaded, I said, stepping back. And those medical records? Copies are with 3 different lawyers. Get out, Poppy whispered. Get out of my house. Your house? I looked around the familiar walls. The will says different. You have until tomorrow to pack. As I turned to leave, Poppy called out, You have no idea what you're doing. The Marina Project has powerful investors. They won't let you ruin this. Watch me. Outside, Rebecca was waiting in her car. Did you get it? I nodded, hands shaking now that it was over. They practically confessed, but they mentioned investors, powerful ones. Hassan called while you were inside. He found something in the company servers. Someone deleted files right after your dad died, but he recovered them. My phone buzzed with a text from Brian. Need to meet. It's about the investors. Your father left something else. Can we trust him? Rebecca asked. Another text came through, this time from an unknown number. Back off or the next heart attack won't be faked. I showed Rebecca the threat. They're scared. Good. Steph, this is serious. Maybe we should… No. I cut her off. Dad died trying to stop them. I won't let them win. As we drove away, I saw Poppy watching from the window, phone to her ear. She was calling someone, probably the mysterious investors. Let them come. Dad had taught me well. Always keep receipts, always have a backup plan, and never show your full hand until the final play. The real game was just beginning. The coffee shop was nearly empty when Brian slid into the booth across from me. Rebecca sat at a nearby table, pretending to work on her laptop while keeping watch. You're taking a huge risk meeting me, he said, glancing nervously over his shoulder. Talk fast, I replied, recording on my phone under the table. The investors, they're not just developers, they're connected to some serious people. Your father found out they were using the Marina project to launder money. And you know this how? He pulled out a thumb drive. Because I helped him gather evidence. That's why he kept me close. I was his inside man. Before I could respond, Hassan rushed into the cafe. We need to go. Now. Someone broke into my office. What did they take? I asked, grabbing my bag. Nothing. They left something instead. He held up his phone, showing a photo of his ransacked office. On his desk, a single playing card. The Queen of Hearts, splattered with red paint. Brian went pale. It's starting. That's their warning sign. We relocated to Rebecca's apartment, spreading out the contents of both USB drives on her dining table. Look at this, Hassan pointed to a document. Wire transfers from the Marina project to a company called Queen's Holdings. That's Beatrice's company, Brian explained, but it's just a front. The real money goes through multiple shells before reaching the investors. My phone buzzed. An email from an anonymous account, the subject line, "Watch this." The attached video showed Dad in his office arguing with someone off camera. You can't do this, Dad's voice was clear. These people trusted us with their retirement funds. They'll get a better return this way, Poppy's voice replied. Everyone wins. It's fraud, and you know it. I'm shutting it down. That would be unwise, Thomas. A man's voice, unfamiliar. Think of your daughter. The video cut off. Another email arrived immediately. Back off, or the next video shows how your father really died. They're bluffing, Rebecca said, but her voice shook. No, Brian stood up. They're not. I was there that night. I saw… A sharp crack split the air. The window behind Brian shattered. He dropped to the floor as Rebecca screamed. Nobody move, Hassan commanded, pulling out his phone. Police are on their way. Brian clutched his shoulder, blood seeping between his fingers. Just grazed me. They're sending a message. While waiting for the police, I checked my email again. A new message contained just an address and time. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. Come alone or the next shot won't miss. The police arrived, took statements, but I could tell they weren't going to help. This was bigger than they could handle. After they left, Hassan pulled me aside. There's something else. Your father left a safety deposit box. I got access this morning. Inside the box, we found a single document, detailed evidence of money laundering through Queen's Holdings, with names, dates, and account numbers. This is it, I breathed. This is what got him killed. There's more, Hassan said. Look at the signature page. There, among the names of Queen's Holdings board members, was a familiar signature, Beatrice Fleming, Chief Financial Officer. She wasn't just Poppy's sister, Rebecca realized. She was the connection to the investors all along. My phone rang. Poppy. Enjoying the show? She asked when I answered on speaker. You won't get away with this. Oh, but I already have. Ask Brian about March 15th. Ask him what your father's last words were. I looked at Brian, who couldn't meet my eyes. "You have 1 hour to surrender all copies of the evidence," Poppy continued, "or the next video goes public, the one showing how your father begged at the end." The line went dead. "She's lying," Rebecca insisted. "She has to be." But Brian was shaking his head. "I'm sorry, Stephanie. I was supposed to protect him, but I was too late." "Then help me now," I said. "Tell me everything." He took a deep breath. "The video exists, but what they don't know is that your father was wearing a wire that night. The full recording, it's in a place only he knew about." "The marina," Hassan suddenly said. "The actual marina. Your father owned a boat slip there." I remembered weekends on that boat, Dad teaching me to fish, pointing out stars. He always said the water held secrets. "We have 1 hour," I said, standing up. "Let's make it count." Outside, a black SUV crawled past Rebecca's apartment. They were watching, waiting for us to make a move. But they didn't know what I knew. Dad's favourite saying, "The best place to hide something is in plain sight." The marina held the truth, and this time I was ready for whatever waited in the shadows. The marina's security lights cast long shadows across the docks as we approached Dad's old slip. The Sweet Caroline, named after Mom, sat quietly in the dark water. "2 cars following us," Rebecca whispered from the back seat. "Black SUV and a silver sedan." "Let them come," I said, pulling into the parking lot. "Brian, you're sure about this?" He nodded, still holding his injured shoulder. "Your father spent every Sunday here the month before he died. Said he was organising his thoughts." Hassan met us at the dock, carrying a small toolkit. "Security cameras are looped. We have 20 minutes max." The boat's cabin was exactly as I remembered. Worn leather seats, the old navigation system, and Dad's lucky fishing hat still hanging by the wheel. But something was different. "The floorboards," Brian pointed, "under the captain's chair." Hassan worked quickly with a screwdriver. The third board lifted to reveal a waterproof case. Footsteps on the dock. "Well, isn't this cozy?" Poppy stood there, Beatrice beside her. 4 men in suits spread out behind them. "You're trespassing," I said, standing up. "Funny, I was about to say the same thing." Poppy's smile was razor sharp. "Hand over the case, dear." "It's not what you think," Beatrice added. "Your father was confused at the end. Paranoid." "Paranoid enough to wear a wire," I challenged, "to record everything." One of the suited men stepped forward. "Miss, you don't want to play this game. Walk away. Take a vacation. Forget what you think you know." "Like you made Dad forget?" The words burned coming out. "With whatever you put in his drink that night?" Poppy's composure cracked. "You have no idea what you're talking about." "March 15th, I said. "Dad confronted you about the marina project, about the money laundering, about everything." "Thomas was going to ruin years of careful planning," Beatrice snapped. "We tried to reason with him." "By poisoning him?" Hassan's voice was cold. "By making it look like a heart attack?" The suited man moved closer. "Last chance. The case now." "You know what's funny?" I said, reaching into my jacket. "Dad taught me something about boats. Always have a backup plan." I pulled out my phone, pressed play. Dad's voice filled the night air. "If you're hearing this, I'm dead. Poppy and Beatrice think they destroyed all the evidence, but they missed something. The real Marina Project files, the offshore accounts, the recordings of every meeting, it's all been sent to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division." Poppy's face went white. "You're bluffing." "The timestamp on that email?" I showed them my screen. 10 minutes ago, Dad set it up to send automatically if I entered the boat's security code tonight. Chaos erupted. 2 of the suited men ran. Beatrice grabbed for the case, but Rebecca was faster, swinging Dad's old fishing rod like a weapon. It connected with Beatrice's shoulder, sending her stumbling backward. "You little bitch!" Poppy lunged at me. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Hassan smiled. "Right on schedule." "You set us up," Beatrice realized too late. "No," I corrected her. "Dad did. Every Sunday here, he wasn't just organizing thoughts, he was organizing your downfall." Red and blue lights flooded the marina. FBI agents swarmed the docks, weapons drawn. "Federal agents! Everyone on the ground!" Poppy tried to run but slipped on the wet dock. As agents cuffed her, she screamed, "You have no proof!" I opened the case, revealing a laptop and hard drive. "Actually, we have everything. Every transaction, every threat, every meeting, including March 15th. "Your father was smarter than we thought," Beatrice said bitterly as agents led her away. Brian stepped forward. "Stephanie, I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner." "You helped him in the end," I said. "That counts for something." As the chaos settled, I sat in Dad's captain's chair, running my hand over the worn leather. Rebecca joined me, holding Dad's lucky hat. "There's one more thing," Hassan said, handing me an envelope from the case. "Your father left this for after." Inside was a single photo, Dad and me on this boat, both laughing, from my last birthday before Poppy. On the back, he'd written, "Justice comes to those who wait. I love you, sweetheart. The Marina Project was always about protecting you." "The FBI wants statements," Rebecca said gently. I nodded, standing up. Through the cabin window, I watched Poppy and Beatrice being driven away in separate cars, their empire of lies crumbling in a single night. "Ready?" Hassan asked. "Almost." I hung Dad's lucky hat back in its spot. Some things belonged right where they started. The marina's security lights still cast shadows, but they didn't seem as dark anymore. Dad had left me more than evidence. He'd left me the truth. And sometimes that's the most powerful weapon of all. The courthouse buzzed with tension as I took the witness stand. Poppy sat at the defendant's table, designer outfit replaced by prison orange, her perfectly manicured nails now bitten to the quick. "Please state your name for the record," the prosecutor began. "Stephanie Kelly." "And can you identify the contents of Evidence Exhibit A?" I looked at the laptop and hard drive, Dad's final gift. "Yes. These contain recordings and documents detailing the money laundering operation run through the Marina Project." "Objection," Poppy's lawyer stood. "Speculation." "Overruled," the judge said. "Continue." The prosecutor played the March 15th recording. Dad's voice filled the courtroom. "I won't let you steal from innocent people, Poppy. These retirement funds—" "You're being dramatic, Thomas." Poppy's recorded voice was cold. "Take the money and look the other way." "Like you want me to look the other way about the poison you've been slipping into my drinks?" Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Present-day Poppy's face contorted with rage. "That's a lie," she shouted, standing up. "He was paranoid. Order!" The judge banged his gavel. "Mrs. Moore, control yourself." The recording continued. A man's voice, now identified as one of the arrested investors, said, "Don't be difficult, Thomas. Accidents happen." "They do," Dad replied. "That's why I'm wearing a wire." The prosecutor stopped the playback. "What happened next, Ms. Kelly?" "According to the medical examiner's new report, my father was poisoned with a substance that mimicked heart attack symptoms. He died 3 days later." Beatrice, testifying as part of her plea deal, was next on the stand. "It wasn't supposed to go that far," she said, avoiding my eyes. "The plan was just to scare him." "Who gave the order?" the prosecutor asked. "Poppy. She said Thomas was becoming a liability. The investors were getting nervous about the money laundering operation." "You lying snake!" Poppy lunged at her sister, requiring 2 guards to restrain her. The judge called a recess. In the hallway, Rebecca hugged me tight. "You're doing great," she whispered. "Dad would be so proud." Hassan approached with Brian, who was still wearing a sling. "The FBI finished tracking the offshore accounts. They've frozen everything." "Good," I said. "The retirement funds?" "Can be restored to the original investors," Hassan confirmed. "Your father's final failsafe worked perfectly." Back in session, the prosecutor presented the financial evidence, the complex web of shell companies, the diverted funds, the falsified documents, all leading back to Poppy and Beatrice. "And what was the total amount laundered through the Marina Project?" the prosecutor asked. $57 million, I answered. "Money stolen from retirement accounts, and pension funds. Poppy's lawyer tried to paint her as an unwitting participant, manipulated by her sister and the investors. But the evidence was overwhelming. The jury took only 2 hours to reach a verdict. On the count of first-degree murder, we find the defendant, Poppy Moore, guilty. On the counts of money laundering and fraud, we find the defendant guilty. Poppy screamed as they led her away. "This isn't over, Stephanie. You'll regret this." Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. "Ms. Kelly, what happens to the Marina project now?" I stepped up to the microphones. "The original plan will proceed as my father intended. Affordable housing for seniors, built honestly and legally. And the company will continue his legacy of ethical business practices. No shortcuts, no schemes, just fair deals and honest work." Later that evening, we gathered at Dad's boat. Hassan handed out champagne. "To Thomas," he said, raising his glass, "who planned the perfect revenge from beyond the grave." "To Dad," I echoed, "who taught me that justice is worth fighting for." Rebecca pointed to a small package on the captain's chair. This was in the evidence locker. They just released it. Inside, I found Dad's journal. The last entry, dated March 15th, read, "My dearest Stephanie, if you're reading this, the truth has finally come out. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you everything, but I needed to protect you. Remember what I always said about karma? It's not revenge we should seek, but justice. You are my greatest achievement, not any business deal or project. I know you'll make the right choices. All my love, Dad." Brian cleared his throat. "The FBI wants to know if you'll testify against the remaining investors next month." I looked around at my support team. Rebecca, Hassan, Brian, all brought together by Dad's final plan. "Of course, I said. "We finish what he started." The marina lights reflected off the water, creating dancing patterns on the boat's hull. Somewhere, I hoped Dad was watching, knowing his legacy was safe. Not just the company or the Marina project, but his real legacy, the truth about right and wrong, about justice and consequences. And Poppy? She learned the hard way that karma doesn't forget. Neither did Dad. Neither would I. The morning sun streamed through Dad's office windows as I cleared the last of Poppy's things from his desk. Each item told its own story of deception: forged documents hidden in designer folders, USB drives disguised as lipsticks, a phone filled with encrypted messages. "Look what I found," Rebecca called from the storage room. She emerged holding a dusty model of the Marina project, Dad's original vision. "He kept it," I smiled, running my finger along the miniature buildings, "even after they tried to change everything." The intercom buzzed. "Ms. Kelly? The first residents are here." My heart raced as I walked to the lobby. An elderly couple stood there, holding hands and housing applications. "Welcome to Marina Gardens," I said, extending my hand. "I'm Stephanie." "We can't believe the rates," the woman gushed. "Everyone said we'd have to leave the neighborhood when our rent doubled, but this—" "My father believed everyone deserves a safe place to call home," I replied. "Let me show you around." As we toured the completed complex, I saw Dad's dream come to life. Community gardens, a medical clinic, social spaces where seniors could gather, everything he'd fought to protect. Hassan met us in the courtyard, legal papers in hand. The last of the recovered funds have been returned to the investors. And, he paused, smiling, Poppy's appeal was denied. "Good," I said. "What about the evidence room?" "That's why I'm here. We found something else." Back in Dad's office, Hassan unlocked a hidden panel behind the bookshelf. Inside was a small safe I'd never seen before. "The FBI techs discovered it during their final sweep," he explained, entering a code. "Your birth date." The safe swung open to reveal a letter and a small box. The letter was in Dad's handwriting. "My dearest Stephanie, if you're reading this, you've already uncovered the truth and brought those responsible to justice. But there's one last thing you need to know. The day Poppy came into our lives, I knew something wasn't right. Call it instinct, call it experience, but I started planning. The Marina project wasn't just about housing. It was a trap for anyone who'd try to corrupt it. In this box is Mum's locket. I always told you it was lost, but I kept it safe, waiting for the right moment. Inside is a photo of us three, taken the day you were born. This is your real legacy, not the business, not the buildings, but the love of family and the strength to stand up for what's right. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from the pain of losing me, but I hope I taught you enough to protect yourself from those who try to hurt you. Remember, karma isn't about revenge. It's about balance. You've restored that balance. I love you always, Dad. My hands shook as I opened the locket. The tiny photo was faded but clear. Mom in her hospital bed, Dad beaming, newborn me sleeping peacefully. There's something else, Hassan said softly, pointing to the safe's back wall. A final USB drive was taped there. The file contained a video. Dad, in this very office, recorded the morning of March 15th. "Good morning, sweetheart," he began. "If you're watching this, everything went according to plan. The evidence caught them, the money was recovered, and the marina project is what it was always meant to be." He leaned closer to the camera. "But most importantly, you proved what I always knew, that you're stronger than any challenge, smarter than any scheme, and more capable than you ever imagined." "We found his real medical records," Brian added, entering the office. "He knew they were poisoning him. He could have stopped drinking the coffee, saved himself. But then we wouldn't have caught them," I realized. "He sacrificed himself to protect others." Rebecca squeezed my hand as Dad's video continued. "Don't mourn me too long, sweetheart. Instead, celebrate what we built together. Your mother would be so proud of you. I know I am." The video ended. Through the window, I watched new residents moving into Marina Gardens. Each one represented a life improved, a promise kept. "Ready for the opening ceremony?" Hassan asked. I fastened Mum's locket around my neck. Almost. On Dad's old desk, I placed the model of Marina Gardens, the locket photo, and his lucky fishing hat. A shrine not to loss, but to legacy. "Now I'm ready," I said. Outside, a crowd gathered for the ribbon cutting. As I stood at the podium, the morning sun caught Mom's locket, sending sparkles across the crowd. Perfect karma. Perfect balance. Dad was right. This wasn't about revenge. It was about justice, about protecting others, about doing what's right even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. I picked up the scissors, ready to cut the ribbon and open the next chapter. Not just for me, but for everyone who'd been given a second chance by one man's final brilliant plan.
The text message glared at me from my phone screen. "Due to unforeseen circumstances, we regret to inform you that the position has been filled internally." I read it 3 times, my hands shaking. This was impossible. Just yesterday, the hiring manager had called to tell me I was perfect for the role. My portfolio was exceptional, my interview answers spot on, and my references were glowing. Something wasn't adding up. My name is Blair, and I've spent my entire life watching my stepmother Miranda orchestrate unforeseen circumstances. The thought of her involvement made my stomach churn. "Hey, you okay?" Kenny poked his head into my cubicle, coffee mug in hand. "You look like you've seen a ghost. Remember that dream job I interviewed for at Walsh Media?" I showed him the message. "Something feels off. The investigative journalism position. But Anna Walsh herself said you were shortlisted." I nodded, already pulling up my email. "Exactly. And now suddenly, they're going with an internal hire? It doesn't make sense." My phone buzzed, Dad calling. I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hey, Dad. Blair, honey, Miranda just told me the exciting news about your job interview. She said she ran into Anna Walsh at the charity gala last night and put in a good word for you." My blood ran cold. Of course she did. "Dad, I need to go. Work emergency." I hung up before he could respond. Kenny leaned against my desk. "Spill it. What did your dad say?" "Miranda helped me." I made air quotes with my fingers. "She talked to Anna Walsh at some gala last night. Want to bet what kind of good word she put in?" Oh shit. Kenny knew enough about Miranda to understand. "What are you going to do?" I started gathering my things. "I'm going to Walsh Media, right now." "Blair, wait." No, I'm done waiting. I'm done letting her win. I grabbed my coat. Cover for me with Chelsea, Kenny sighed. You know she'll understand, but be careful, okay? The drive to Walsh Media's headquarters felt like an eternity. 15 years of Miranda's helpful interventions played through my mind like a greatest hits compilation of manipulation. There was the time she convinced my high school drama teacher I wasn't emotionally mature enough for the lead in the school play. The college recommendation letter she offered to write, which mysteriously never arrived. The internship that vanished after she bumped into the editor at a fashion show. I'm just looking out for you, darling, she'd say, her perfectly manicured hand patting my cheek. You're not ready for such pressure. Trust me, I know this industry. The security guard at Walsh Media looked skeptical when I requested to see Anna Walsh. Ms. Walsh is in meetings all day, he said, barely glancing up from his crossword puzzle. Then I'll wait. I sat in one of the lobby chairs, pulling out my laptop. I have plenty of work to do. Hours passed. Employees streamed in and out. I kept working, determined to stay until closing if necessary. At 6:45 p.m., a familiar voice cut through the lobby's quiet. Blair Lynch, what are you doing here? I looked up to see Chelsea, my current boss, walking in with Anna Walsh herself. My heart jumped into my throat. Ms. Walsh, I stood quickly. I need to speak with you about the position. Anna's expression hardened. The position that's been filled? I believe HR sent you a message. Yes, after your conversation with Miranda Stanley last night. I met her gaze steadily. My stepmother. Something flickered in Anna's eyes. Chelsea stepped forward, looking concerned. Blair, what's going on? I'd like to know that too, Anna said, studying me with new interest. Miranda was quite insistent about your unsuitability for the role. Of course she was, I laughed, but there was no humor in it. She's been protecting me from success my entire life. I can prove it if you'll give me 15 minutes. Anna glanced at her watch, then at Chelsea. She's one of our best, Chelsea said quietly. Whatever Miranda told you, I'd hear her out. Anna was silent for a long moment. Finally, she nodded toward the elevators. 15 minutes, not a second more. As we rode up to her office, I felt something shift inside me. Years of suppressed anger and frustration crystallized into determination. Miranda had just made her biggest mistake. She'd finally given me something concrete to fight back against. I pulled out my phone and opened my evidence folder. Let me show you who Miranda Stanley really is, Ms. Walsh. And then let me prove I'm exactly who you need for this position. The elevator doors opened to the executive floor, and I stepped out, ready for battle. Whatever happened next, this time I wasn't backing down. Anna's office felt like standing in a fishbowl, floor-to-ceiling windows, offering a dizzying view of the city below. She settled behind her desk while Chelsea took a seat near the door. Your 15 minutes started the moment we left the lobby, Anna said, gesturing for me to sit. Impress me. I pulled up the first email on my phone. 2 years ago, Miranda told my father she'd recommended me for an editorial position at Style magazine. What she actually sent was this. I handed over my phone. Anna's eyebrows rose as she read. While Blair shows enthusiasm, her tendency toward investigative pieces makes her unsuitable for fashion journalism. How did you get this? The editor is an old college friend. She showed me when I ran into her last month. I swiped to the next screenshot. Here's what Miranda sent to the Globe Theater when I applied for their marketing position. And here's what she told the director of the summer writing program I applied to in college. Anna scrolled through the evidence, her expression growing darker. These all paint you as unstable, overly aggressive, or emotionally immature. Why would your stepmother do this? Because I'm not her daughter, I said simply. I'm a reminder that my father had a life before her, and I chose journalism instead of fashion, her precious domain. Chelsea leaned forward. Blair, why didn't you ever say anything? Because until today, it was all whispers and coincidences. Nothing I could prove. I turned back to Anna. But last night, she finally got sloppy. She was so confident you'd take her word over mine that she didn't bother being subtle. My phone buzzed. A text from Miranda lit up the screen. "Darling, I heard about the Walsh position. Don't be discouraged. Perhaps this is a sign you should consider the PR assistant role at my company. I could fast-track you." Perfect timing. I showed Anna the message. She's already moving to Plan B. Keep me close. Keep me small. I felt my voice shake with anger. I've spent my career fighting twice as hard because of her sabotage, but I'm done letting her win. Anna stood, walking to the window. "What exactly are you asking for, Blair?" "The position I earned. The one you were ready to give me before last night." I stood too, heart pounding. "Let me prove Miranda wrong. I'll be the best investigative journalist you've ever hired." Bold statement. Anna turned, her expression unreadable. "But there's something you should know about that position. We're planning a major exposé on ethical violations in the fashion industry. Given your personal connection to Miranda Stanley, that could be problematic." My breath caught. "Of all the assignments. Or it could be exactly what you need," Chelsea spoke up. "Blair knows the industry's dark side firsthand. She has contacts, insights, and motivation." Anna studied me carefully. "Is that something you could handle professionally? Investigating your stepmother's world without letting personal vengeance drive the story?" I met her gaze steadily. "I've spent 15 years watching Miranda crush people's dreams while maintaining her perfect public image. I know how to separate facts from feelings. Give me a chance to prove it." The silence stretched for what felt like hours. Finally, Anna returned to her desk and pressed her intercom. "Janet, please send up the standard employment contract." She looked at me. "You start Monday, but Blair? One hint of personal vendetta in your reporting, and you're done." "Understood." I nodded, trying to keep my professional composure while my heart soared. "Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Walsh. Thank me by delivering results." She gestured to the door. "Chelsea can fill you in on the details tomorrow." Outside the building, Chelsea grabbed my arm. "We need to talk. Coffee." 10 minutes later, we sat in a quiet corner of the nearby cafe. "Blair, are you sure about this?" Chelsea wrapped her hands around her mug. "Investigating the fashion industry means you'll likely uncover things about Miranda that can't be undone." "Good." I stirred my latte absently. "It's time someone exposed the truth. Just be careful. Success is the best revenge, but revenge isn't always sweet." Chelsea reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "Promise me you'll remember that." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. "Miranda, darling, your father and I would love to have you for dinner tomorrow. We can discuss your career options. I have so many connections who'd love to meet you." I showed Chelsea the message, my jaw tight. "See? She's already plotting her next move." "So what are you going to do?" I typed out a reply. "Sorry, can't make it. Starting a new job on Monday, but don't worry, I'm sure our paths will cross soon enough." Looking up at Chelsea, I managed a grim smile. "I'm going to do exactly what Miranda taught me: smile, nod, and plan 10 steps ahead. She wanted me in the fashion industry. Well, now she's got me, just not the way she intended." Chelsea shook her head, but I caught the hint of a smile. "Just remember what Anna said. This has to be about justice, not revenge." "Of course," I agreed, even as my mind raced with possibilities. After all, sometimes justice and revenge looked remarkably similar. My first week at Walsh Media started with a bombshell. I was sorting through old industry reports when a familiar name caught my eye. Miranda Stanley, former CEO of Glamour Heights Fashion, resigned amid undisclosed circumstances, 1999. "That can't be right," I muttered, double-checking the date. Miranda had always claimed she'd founded her current company, Elite Fashion House, from scratch. She'd never mentioned Glamour Heights. Kenny's voice came through my headphones. "Did you say something? You've been staring at that screen for 10 minutes. Sorry, just found something weird." I adjusted my webcam for our video call. "Remember how Miranda always brags about building Elite from nothing? Yeah, her whole self-made woman shtick. What about it?" I shared my screen. Look what I found. Kenny whistled. Well, well. Stepmommy dearest has some skeletons in her closet. You going to dig deeper? Already on it. I pulled up another database. Glamour Heights went under right after she left. There were rumors about unsafe working conditions, but everything got buried in legal settlements. A knock at my office door made me jump. Anna stood there, holding a thick file. Sorry, Kenny, got to go, I said quickly, ending the call. Ms. Walsh, come in. How's the research coming? She dropped the file on my desk. Because I brought you something interesting. I opened the file and froze. Staring up at me was a younger Miranda, standing outside Glamour Heights, former headquarters. You found the connection, Anna said, perching on the edge of my desk. I wondered how long it would take you. You knew about this. I was a junior reporter when it happened. Anna's expression hardened. The story got killed before publication. Too many powerful people involved. But I kept everything. My hands trembled as I flipped through the documents. Employee complaints, medical reports, financial records, all pointing to a systematic abuse of power. Why are you showing me this now? Because history is repeating itself at Elite. Anna pulled out her phone, showing me a recent news article. 3 models hospitalized last month. Official story claims food poisoning. But you don't believe that. I believe we finally have a chance to expose the truth. She tapped the file. And you have the perfect cover to investigate. After all, you're just a stepdaughter trying to learn the family business, right? My stomach churned. Miranda will never fall for that. She already has. Anna smiled. She called me yesterday, apologizing for her misunderstanding about your qualifications. She even suggested we collaborate on some fashion industry pieces. I sat back, stunned. She's trying to control the narrative. Exactly. So let her think she's succeeding. Anna headed for the door. Just remember, we need concrete evidence. Your personal history with Miranda can't factor into the story. After she left, I called Kenny back. You're not going to believe this, I started, but he cut me off. Blair, check your email, right now. I opened my inbox to find a message from Livia, Miranda's teenage daughter. Hey sis, it read. Mom's been acting weird since you got the new job. She's having all these late-night meetings, shredding documents. Yesterday I heard her yelling at someone about keeping their mouth shut. I'm scared. Can we talk? Holy shit, Kenny breathed. This is big. This is dangerous, I corrected. Livia's never reached out to me before. Maybe she's finally seeing Miranda's true colors. I typed and deleted several responses before settling on coffee tomorrow, 4 p.m. at the bean counter. Livia's reply came instantly. Yes, don't tell Mom. The next day, I arrived early to scope out the cafe. Livia showed up right on time, looking nervous in her private school uniform. Thanks for meeting me, she said, sliding into the booth. I didn't know who else to talk to. Start from the beginning, I said gently. What's going on? It's not just the documents. Livia leaned forward, lowering her voice. Last week, one of Mom's models collapsed during a fitting. Mom made everyone sign NDAs before they could leave. Was this one of the food poisoning cases? Livia's eyes widened. How did you know about that? I'm researching the industry for work. I kept my tone casual, including health and safety standards. Then you should look into the Glamour Heights scandal. Livia pulled out her phone. I found Mom's old papers while snooping in her home office. Look. She showed me photos of documents I recognized from Anna's file, plus several I hadn't seen before. Livia, this is serious stuff. Why are you showing me? She met my eyes. And for the first time, I saw real fear there. Because I think history's repeating itself. And this time, I don't want to be on the wrong side. I reached across the table, squeezing her hand. We'll figure this out, I promise. Just be careful, Livia whispered. Mom's not who everyone thinks she is. I know, I said, thinking of Anna's file and 15 years of manipulation. Believe me, I know. As Livia left, my phone buzzed with a text from Miranda. Darling, let's do lunch tomorrow. We have so much to discuss about your new career path. I smiled grimly. Game on, Miranda. Game on. Miranda's favorite restaurant buzzed with the usual lunchtime crowd of fashion industry elites. She sat at her regular corner table, perfectly poised in a cream designer suit. Blair, darling. She air-kissed my cheeks. I ordered us both the salmon. You still like salmon, don't you? Sure. I settled into my chair, noting how she'd already taken control of the situation. Thanks for inviting me. Of course, we simply must discuss your new position. She leaned forward, voice dropping conspiratorially. Anna tells me you're working on a piece about industry standards. I'd love to help. Really? I kept my expression neutral. That would be great. Absolutely. Elite Fashion House is an industry leader in ethical practices. Miranda's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. I'll have my assistant schedule some interviews with our team. The salmon arrived, perfectly plated. Miranda took a delicate bite before continuing. You know, darling, I've always regretted how things ended at Glamour Heights. I nearly choked on my water. Oh? Such a shame. The board was so resistant to change. She dabbed her lips with her napkin. That's why I started Elite, to do things right. My phone buzzed. A text from Livia. Mom's assistant just started shredding more files. Getting photos. I quickly typed back, be careful, before returning to Miranda's carefully constructed narrative. I'd love to hear more about Glamour Heights, I said. For context in my article. Miranda's smile tightened. Ancient history, darling. Let's focus on the present. Elite's upcoming show will revolutionize the industry. You should cover that instead. Back at the office, Chelsea was waiting by my desk. How was lunch with the devil? Educational. I showed her my recording app. Want to hear Miranda accidentally admit she left Glamour Heights because of board conflicts? Chelsea frowned. Blair, are you recording all your conversations with her? Only in public places where it's legal. I sat down, pulling up my notes. And it's a good thing I did. 3 former Glamour Heights employees agreed to meet with me tomorrow. Just be careful. Miranda's not stupid. Chelsea perched on my desk. She's playing nice because she thinks she can control you. I know, that's what I'm counting on. My phone buzzed again. Livia sending photos, documents about wellness programs that looked more like forced starvation. Internal memos about keeping models' incidents quiet. Holy shit, Chelsea breathed, looking over my shoulder. Is that current Elite paperwork? Some old, some new. Livia's been... I stopped as Kenny burst into my office. Blair, you need to see this. He pulled up a news site on my computer. Just broke 10 minutes ago. The headline made my blood run cold. Elite Fashion House model in critical condition after show rehearsal. That's not all, Kenny said, scrolling down. Look who's representing the family. The lawyer's name hit me like a punch to the gut. The same one who'd handled all the Glamour Heights settlements. My phone rang. Anna, I assume you've seen the news, she said when I answered. How fast can you get your story ready? I need a few more days. The Glamour Heights people. We don't have a few days. Elite's PR team is already spinning this. Anna's voice was tight. If we don't move now, it'll get buried like last time. Chelsea grabbed my arm. Blair, look. Miranda was on TV, standing outside the hospital. Our Elite family is devastated by this tragic accident. We're fully cooperating with authorities and supporting Jasmine's family during this difficult time. She's good, Kenny muttered. She's practiced, I corrected, turning back to my phone. Anna, give me 48 hours. I'll have everything ready. You have 36. And Blair, make it bulletproof. I worked through the night, piecing together 2 decades of evidence. Around 3 a.m., Livia texted again. Mom's still at the office. She's called every board member. Something about containing the situation. I was about to respond when my father called. Blair, honey, are you working on this Elite story? Dad, Miranda's really upset. Says you're trying to destroy her company. His voice was strained. She's crying, Blair. What's going on? I gripped my desk, knuckles white. Dad, what did Miranda tell you about Glamour Heights? What? That old company. What does that have to do with anything? Everything. I took a deep breath. Dad, I need you to listen carefully. Miranda isn't who you think she is. Blair, no, Dad. For once, please just listen. There was a long pause before he said quietly, I'm listening. I told him everything. The sabotage, the evidence, the patterns of abuse. When I finished, the silence stretched so long, I thought he'd hung up. Finally, he spoke. Send me what you have, all of it. Dad, if what you're saying is true. His voice cracked. Just send it, please. After hanging up, I stared at my evidence wall. Photos, documents, testimonies, all pointing to a 20-year pattern of exploitation and cover-ups. Chelsea's words echoed in my head. Be careful. But it was too late for careful. The truth was coming out, one way or another. My phone lit up with a text from Miranda. We need to talk, now. I met Miranda at Elite's headquarters at 4 a.m. The building was eerily quiet, except for the click of her heels as she led me to her office. Sit, she commanded, closing the door. Gone was the perfectly poised stepmother. This was Miranda, the CEO, and she was furious. You've been quite busy, she said, tossing a folder onto her desk, digging up ancient history, talking to former employees, corrupting my daughter. Corrupting? I laughed. Livia came to me because she's scared of what you're doing. She's a child. She doesn't understand business. Miranda's perfectly manicured nails drummed against her desk. But you're playing a very dangerous game. No games, Miranda, just journalism. Is that what you call this vendetta? She opened the folder, revealing printouts of my research. You think you're the first person to try taking me down. A knock interrupted us. Miranda's assistant poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but Jasmine's family is here with their lawyer. Miranda's face shifted instantly to concerned professional. Send them in. A couple entered, looking exhausted and angry. Their lawyer followed, carrying a thick briefcase. Mr. and Mrs. Peters, Miranda rose, voice dripping sympathy. I'm so sorry about Jasmine. I came straight from the hospital to meet you. Mrs. Peters burst into tears. She's 19. The doctors say her heart. Your wellness program nearly killed our daughter. Mr. Peters spat. She told us about the diet pills, the forced fasting. I assure you, Elite has strict policies against. Save it, the lawyer cut in. We have evidence. I stood quietly, recording everything on my phone. Miranda's eyes flicked to me, then back to the family. Perhaps we should discuss this privately, she suggested. Nothing to discuss, Mr. Peters said. We're going public. Miranda's smile turned razor sharp. Are you sure that's wise? Jasmine's contract includes quite comprehensive confidentiality clauses. Are you threatening us? Mrs. Peters demanded. Not at all. I'm simply reminding you of legal obligations. Miranda opened a drawer. However, Elite is prepared to offer compensation for Jasmine's medical expenses, plus a generous settlement. The lawyer reached for the paperwork, but I stepped forward. Don't sign anything. All eyes turned to me. I'm Blair Lynch, investigative journalist with Walsh Media. We're about to publish an expose on Elite's systematic abuse of models, including evidence from Glamour Heights. Miranda's face went white. Blair, leave. Now. No. I turned to the Peters family. Your daughter isn't the first victim, but she could be the last, if you're willing to go on record. The lawyer looked interested. What kind of evidence are we talking about? 20 years worth. I pulled out my phone, showing them photos of the documents Livia had found, including Miranda's previous company's settlements. You vindictive little, Miranda started, but Mr. Peters cut her off. We'll talk, he said. Not here, not with her. I handed them my card. My office, tomorrow morning. Bring everything you have. After they left, Miranda rounded on me. You have no idea what you've done. Actually, I do. I met her glare. I'm exposing the truth you've spent 20 years burying. Truth, she laughed bitterly. You want truth? I built this industry. I survived it. Everything I did was necessary. Necessary? Like sabotaging your stepdaughter's career. I was protecting you. She slammed her hand on the desk. This industry eats people alive. I've seen it happen. Everything I did was to keep you away from this world. Bullshit. I stepped closer. You did it because you couldn't stand the idea of me succeeding on my own terms. My phone buzzed. A text from Livia. Mom's board meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. They're voting on her position. Miranda saw the message over my shoulder. Something flickered in her eyes. Fear? Livia, darling, she called out. You can come in now. The office door opened. Livia stood there looking terrified, but determined. I'm sorry, Mom, she said, but this has to stop. At 2, Livia. Miranda's laugh was hollow. Fine, run your story. Destroy everything I've built. But remember this, I survived Glamour Heights. I'll survive you too. This isn't about survival, I said quietly. It's about justice. Justice, Miranda scoffed. There's no justice in fashion, darling. Only power, and you're playing with forces you don't understand. Maybe, I headed for the door. But unlike you, I'm not playing alone. Outside, Livia caught up with me. What happens now? Now? I checked my phone. 6 messages from Anna, 3 from the Peters lawyer. Now we tell the truth, all of it. She'll fight back, Livia warned. I know. I squeezed her hand. But this time, we're ready. My phone buzzed again. Dad, just read everything. We need to talk. All of us. I showed Livia the message. She nodded slowly. The truth really does change everything, doesn't it? Yeah, I said, watching the sunrise over the city. It really does. Dad's house felt different now. The perfectly curated living room that had always been Miranda's domain seemed hollow, like a movie set. We sat in uncomfortable silence. Dad, Miranda, Livia, and me. I've read everything, Dad said finally. The documents, the testimonies, all of it. He turned to Miranda. Tell me it's not true. Miranda smoothed her skirt, buying time. Daryl, the fashion industry is complicated. Don't. His voice cracked. Don't spin this. Just tell me the truth. For once. You want truth? Miranda stood, pacing. Fine. Yes, I pushed models too hard at Glamour Heights. Yes, I covered up incidents. Because that's what it took to survive. And Blair? Dad pressed. The sabotage. Miranda's laugh was brittle. I was protecting her. Look what this industry did to me, what I had to become. I didn't want that for her. That wasn't your choice to make, I said quietly. Wasn't it? She whirled on me. You think your father could have guided you through this world. He's a high school teacher. He doesn't understand. Stop. Livia's voice cut through the tension. Just stop lying, Mom. Show them the letter. Miranda went still. What letter? The one from your old assistant at Glamour Heights. The one that explains why you really left. I sat forward. What's she talking about? Nothing, Miranda snapped. Livia, go to your room. I'm not a child anymore. Livia pulled out her phone. I took pictures before you could shred it. Want me to read it out loud? Miranda lunged for the phone, but Livia dodged. Dear Miranda, Livia read, I can't keep quiet anymore. What happened to Sarah wasn't an accident. The diet pills, the extreme fasting, you pushed her until she broke. Her death is on your hands. The room went dead silent. Dad's face had gone ashen. Sarah, I asked. A model, Miranda whispered. She had so much potential. I just wanted to help her succeed. She was 17, Livia continued reading. If you don't resign quietly, I'm going public. The board will back me. You know they will. That's enough. Miranda's voice shook. That was 20 years ago. I learned from my mistakes. Did you? I pulled out my phone, playing the recording from earlier. Jasmine's parents' voices filled the room, describing the same dangerous practices. History repeating itself, Dad said softly. All these years, I thought. You thought what? Miranda's composure cracked. That I was the perfect wife, the caring stepmother I had to be. It was the only way to keep control, to keep my past buried. By destroying my future. By saving you from becoming me. She collapsed onto the couch. I was 19 when I started modeling. My agent gave me the same pills I gave Sarah, the same ones elite models take now. It never stops. The industry demands perfection, and perfection demands sacrifice. So you sacrificed others instead of changing the system, Livia said. Miranda looked at her daughter, really looked at her, maybe for the first time. I became what I had to become to survive. And then I couldn't stop. The power, the control. It was addictive. The board meeting tomorrow, I said. They're voting you out, aren't they? She nodded slowly. They know about Jasmine, about everything. 20 years of secrets, undone in a day. Dad stood abruptly. I need some air. Daryl, please. No. He turned at the door. You didn't just lie to Blair, you lied to me. Every day, for 15 years. After he left, Miranda turned to me. Your article comes out tomorrow? Yes. And nothing I say will stop it. No. She nodded, suddenly looking old. Then let me tell you everything. The whole truth. Not for redemption. It's too late for that. But maybe it can help change things. Why should I believe anything you say now? Because I have nothing left to lose. She pulled out her phone. And I have proof, files, emails, recordings, everything that shows how the industry really works. Not just elite, but every major fashion house. Livia gasped. Mom, that could destroy everything. Good. Miranda's smile was sad. Maybe it's time for destruction. Maybe that's the only way to force change. I studied her face, looking for manipulation, for lies. But all I saw was exhaustion, and something that looked almost like relief. Okay, I said, pulling out my recorder. Start from the beginning. The real beginning, Livia added, sitting next to her mother. Miranda took a deep breath. I was 19, fresh from Kansas, when I met my first agent. He said I could be a star if I just lost 15 pounds. As she talked, I watched Livia reach for her mother's hand. Miranda gripped it like a lifeline, her perfect facade crumbling with each revealed truth. My phone buzzed, a text from Dad, coming back in. Whatever happens next, we face it as a family. I looked at Miranda, still talking, still confessing. Maybe this wasn't the revenge I'd wanted. Maybe it was something more important. The morning my article went live, I sat in Anna's office, watching the chaos unfold. Every major news network was running the story. Fashion, industry exposed, was trending worldwide. Your inbox is exploding, Kenny said, monitoring my work email. More models coming forward. 3 other fashion houses are facing similar allegations. Anna hung up her phone. That was the district attorney's office. They're opening an investigation into both elite and glamour heights. My own phone buzzed. Livia, Mom's watching the coverage. She hasn't said a word in hours. How's your dad holding up? Chelsea asked, bringing me coffee. I searched for the right words. Processing. Miranda moved out last night. The office door burst open. Janet, Anna's assistant, rushed in. You need to see this. Miranda's going live on Fashion Network. We crowded around the TV. Miranda sat across from a popular morning show host, looking impeccable as always. But something was different. The careful mask was gone. Yes, everything in the article is true, she was saying, including my own actions, both past and present. The host leaned forward. Are you admitting to covering up Sarah Mitchell's death at Glamour Heights? I'm admitting to creating a system that led to her death. Miranda's voice cracked. And then recreating that same toxic system at Elite because it was all I knew. Bold move, Anna murmured. She's getting ahead of the narrative. My phone rang. The Peters lawyer. Blair, Jasmine's awake. She wants to talk. An hour later, I sat by Jasmine's hospital bed, recording her story. Her parents hovered nearby as she described the pressure, the pills, the impossible standards. But you know what's crazy? Jasmine said, her voice weak but determined. Part of me still wants to model. I just want to do it safely, healthily. Maybe you will, I said, thinking of the industry-wide reforms already being proposed. Things are changing. Back at the office, more stories were pouring in. Models, photographers, designers, all breaking their silence about the industry's dark side. Blair, Kenny called from my computer. You should see these comments on your article. I scrolled through them. Finally, someone said it. I survived this industry, barely. My daughter wanted to model. Now I know better. This isn't just fashion. This is every industry that profits from women's insecurities. Chelsea squeezed my shoulder. You did it. You really did it. We did it, I corrected, thinking of Livia's courage, Jasmine's testimony, and yes, even Miranda's final confession. My phone buzzed again. Dad. Miranda's at the house. She wants to talk to you. I found them in the kitchen. Miranda had traded her designer suit for jeans and a sweater. She looked smaller somehow. The board voted me out, she said without preamble. Unanimous decision. I know. They're bringing in new leadership, promising reforms. She laughed softly. Everything I fought against for years, and now they're calling it progress. Because it is progress, Dad said quietly. Miranda nodded. I know that now. Too late, probably, but I know. She turned to me. You did what I never could. You broke the cycle. That's not why I wrote the article, wasn't it? She smiled sadly. You wanted revenge? Yes, but you also wanted change. I only ever wanted control. My phone buzzed continuously. More messages, more stories, more evidence of an industry finally facing its demons. What happens now? I asked. Now? Miranda sighed. Now I cooperate with the investigation. Tell them everything I know. Maybe help build something better from the ashes. Dad reached for her hand. You don't have to do it alone. Actually, she pulled away gently. I do. I need to face this on my own terms. My phone rang. Anna again. Blair, get back here. The industry task force wants to meet with you. They're talking about new regulations, independent oversight. Go, Miranda said. Change things. Do what I should have done 20 years ago. As I turned to leave, she called after me. Blair, I'm sorry for everything. I know it's not enough, but it's a start, I said. Sometimes that's all we can ask for. Back at Walsh Media, the story was still growing. More whistleblowers, more companies, more industries facing scrutiny. You've started a movement, Anna said proudly. No, I replied, watching the coverage. We just gave voice to one that was already there, waiting to be heard. Chelsea brought in champagne. To taking down the toxic fashion industry. To building a better one, I corrected, thinking of Jasmine's words. My phone lit up one last time. Livia, Mom's agreed to therapy. Me too. Maybe we can all heal from this. I smiled, raising my glass. To healing, and to truth. To truth, everyone echoed. Outside my office window, the city sparkled in the evening light. Somewhere out there, other stories waited to be told. Other systems needed changing. But for now, this victory was enough. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's transformation. The Fashion Industry Reform Summit buzzed with energy as I made my way to the podium. Familiar faces filled the audience. Jasmine, now a vocal advocate for model health rights. Chelsea and Kenny, beaming proudly. And in the back, Miranda and Livia, sitting together but slightly apart from the crowd. When I wrote the article that exposed the industry's darkest secrets, I thought I was writing about revenge. Instead, I found myself writing about redemption. The crowd hushed as I continued. Today, we're not just implementing new safety regulations, we're changing the entire culture of fashion. After my speech, Jasmine took the stage, looking healthy and confident. I'm proud to announce the launch of our Model Health Initiative. No more dangerous diet pills, no more extreme fasting, no more silence. The applause was deafening. In the back, I saw Miranda wipe away a tear. At the reception afterward, Anna pulled me aside. The network wants to expand our investigation. Other industries, similar issues. Are you interested? Before I could answer, Dad appeared with champagne. Whatever it is, say yes. You found your calling. Speaking of callings, Chelsea joined us. Guess who just got approved as our first independent industry monitor? Livia walked up, grinning and holding up her certification, ready to keep these fashion houses in line. Following in your sister's footsteps, Kenny teased. No, Livia said firmly. Making my own path, I spotted Miranda standing alone by the windows and made my way over. She looked different, softer somehow, but stronger too. Quite a turnout, she said, watching the crowd. Sarah would be proud. The memorial scholarship in her name will help a lot of young models. Miranda nodded. I visited her family last week. 15 years too late, but they deserve to hear the truth from me. How did that go? They threw me out at first, she smiled wryly. But then, her mother called the next day. We talked for hours. Sometimes the truth hurts, but lies hurt more. Mom? Livia approached cautiously. The board members from Elite want to talk to you about consulting on the new safety protocols. Miranda hesitated. I'm not sure I should. You know every trick in the book, I interrupted. Use that knowledge to protect people this time. She studied my face. When did you become so wise? I had a good teacher. She showed me exactly what not to do. Miranda laughed, a real laugh, not her practiced social one. Fair enough. As she walked away with Livia, Dad slipped his arm around my shoulders. You okay? Yeah, I said, surprised to find it true. I really am. The evening wound down with impromptu speeches and toasts. Jasmine shared her recovery story. Former models spoke about finally feeling heard. Industry executives pledged support for the new initiatives. Kenny raised his glass to Blair, who turned personal vendetta into public victory. No, I corrected, looking around the rooms at all the lives changed, all the bridges rebuilt. To everyone who chose truth over silence. To everyone who risked everything to make change happen. As people began leaving, Miranda approached me one last time. I have something for you. She handed me an envelope. Inside was a photo. Teenage Miranda in Kansas, bright-eyed and smiling, before the industry changed her. With it was a note. Thank you for breaking the cycle, for showing me it's never too late to change. Love, your wicked stepmother, reformed. Keep it, she said when I tried to return it. Remember that everyone starts innocent. It's what we choose to do after we lose that innocence that matters. My phone buzzed. Anna sending tomorrow's schedule. More interviews, more investigations, more stories to tell. Ready to change another industry? Chelsea asked, reading over my shoulder. Actually, I smiled. I think I'm ready to build something new. I looked around the room one last time. Jasmine chatting with young models about healthy career paths. Livia explaining monitoring protocols to industry veterans. Dad and Miranda having what looked like their first honest conversation in years. Kenny appeared with our coats. Need a ride home? Not yet, I said, pulling out my notebook. I have one more story to write. About what? I watched Miranda hug Livia, saw the genuine smile they shared, about how sometimes the happy ending isn't what you expected. Sometimes it's better. That's not very journalistic, Chelsea teased. No, I agreed, thinking of all the twists and turns that led us here. But it's true, and in the end, that's what mattered most. Not revenge or justice or even redemption, just truth in all its messy, complicated, beautiful reality. I opened my notebook and began to write.
The click of my heels echoed through our empty foyer as I wheeled my carry-on toward the kitchen. After 3 days of back-to-back meetings in Boston, all I wanted was to surprise Alan with takeout from our favorite Thai place and crawl into bed early. I'm Sawyer, and until that moment, I thought I had it all figured out. Successful real estate business, loving husband, close-knit family. Funny how life can shatter everything you believe in the span of 30 seconds. The first sign something was wrong, music drifting from upstairs. Alan never plays music during the day. The second, a woman's laughter, my sister Georgia's unmistakable laugh floating down the stairwell. My stomach clenched as I climbed the stairs, each step heavier than the last. The bedroom door was cracked open, spilling warm lamplight into the hallway. I pushed it wider, and the world stopped spinning. There they were, tangled in our sheets, my husband and my baby sister. "Oh, God," Georgia gasped, scrambling to cover herself. Alan jumped up, sheet wrapped around his waist, face drained of color. "Sawyer," he stammered, "you're home early." I didn't scream, didn't cry, just turned and walked out, their voices calling after me as I descended the stairs with mechanical precision. "Sawyer, wait! Please, let us explain." George's footsteps thundered behind me. I spun around. "Explain what? How long you've been fucking my husband in my bed?" "It's not like that," she pleaded, now wearing Alan's shirt. "We fell in love. We didn't mean for this to happen." A laugh bubbled up from somewhere deep inside me. "Love? That's what you're calling this?" Alan appeared at the top of the stairs, hastily dressed. "We were going to tell you. We just needed time to figure things out." "How considerate of you both." My voice was ice. "How long?" They exchanged glances. Georgia spoke first. 8 months. 8 months. 8 months of family dinners, girls' nights, couples' vacations, 8 months of lies. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. Alan caught my arm. "Where are you going?" I jerked away from his touch. Don't you dare touch me." "Mom knows," Georgia blurted out. "She's been helping us figure out how to tell you." The final betrayal. My mother. Of course she knew. Of course she helped them. I drove straight to her house, hands shaking on the steering wheel. Found her in her garden, pruning roses like it was any other afternoon. "Did you know?" I demanded, stalking across the lawn. She straightened slowly, brushing dirt from her gardening gloves. "I assume you found out about Alan and Georgia. Did you? No?" "Yes." She set down her shears. "And before you start, you need to understand." "Understand what?" "That my entire family has been lying to my face for months. Georgia and Alan have something special," she said, her voice maddeningly calm. "Sometimes love doesn't follow the rules we set for it. You've always been the strong one, Sawyer. The independent one. Georgia, she needs this. Needs him." I stared at her, this woman who'd raised me, taught me about loyalty and family. "You're actually defending them?" "I'm trying to help you see the bigger picture. Georgia's pregnant." The world tilted sideways. I grabbed the garden fence to steady myself. 3 months along, she continued. "They're getting married as soon as your divorce is final. I know it hurts now, but..." "Stop." I held up my hand. "Just stop." "Sweetheart." "No, you don't get to sweetheart me. Not after this." I backed away from her. "You chose them. You helped them destroy my marriage, and you chose them. I chose what was best for this family." "This family," I laughed, the sound sharp and bitter. "There is no family anymore. You made sure of that." I drove aimlessly for hours, ending up at the beach where Alan and I had our first date. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of purple and orange. My phone buzzed continuously. Messages from Alan, Georgia, my mother. I turned it off. Sitting there, watching waves crash against the shore, something crystallized inside me. They thought they knew me, strong, independent Sawyer, who would eventually understand, who would forgive and forget for the sake of family harmony. They had no idea what I was capable of. I pulled out my work phone, the one they didn't have the number for, and called Sydney, my mentor in the real estate business. "I need your help," I said when she answered. "I need to know everything about property acquisition, especially regarding mortgages and silent ownership." "Sawyer, what's going on?" "I'm about to teach my family a lesson about consequences." I watched the last rays of sunlight disappear beneath the horizon, and I need to do it in a way they'll never see coming. "First rule of strategic acquisition," Sydney said, sliding a stack of papers across her desk, "is to make sure your target never sees you coming." 2 weeks had passed since my world imploded. I'd moved into a downtown apartment, filed for divorce, and thrown myself into learning everything Sydney could teach me. Her office, with its wall-to-wall windows overlooking the city, had become my sanctuary. "Look at this," she pointed to a property listing. "Your sister and Alan just applied for a business loan to purchase the Riverside Plaza. It's their dream project, luxury condos with retail space." I leaned forward. "How did you get this information?" "I have friends at the bank." Sydney's smile was razor-sharp. "The loan hasn't been approved yet, but it will be, given the family business's strong financials." "The family business that my mother handed to them on a silver platter," I muttered. "Exactly. But here's what they don't know." Sydney pulled up another document. "The current owner of Riverside Plaza is desperate to sell. His daughter's medical bills are piling up, and he needs cash fast. He'll take the first solid offer." I studied the numbers. "You think we should buy it before they can?" "Better." Sydney's eyes gleamed. "We buy it through a shell company, then lease it to them at premium rates. They'll be too invested in their dream project to walk away." My phone buzzed. Another message from Jessie, my best friend, asking to meet. I ignored it. "Won't they recognize my involvement?" "That's why we're setting up multiple corporations. On paper, they'll be dealing with Ocean View Properties, not Sawyer." I sat back, considering. "What about the family business? Mother made George a CEO last week." "Ah." Sydney pulled out another file. "That's where it gets interesting. I had my accountant friend look into their books. They're not as stable as they appear. George has been making risky investments, counting on the Riverside project to bail them out." A knock at the door interrupted us. Jessie stood there, looking determined. "We need to talk," he said. Sydney gathered her papers. "I'll give you 2 a minute." Once she left, Jessie sat across from me. "You're not answering anyone's calls." "George is worried sick." "George is worried?" I laughed. "That's rich. Look, I know they hurt you, but this silent treatment isn't helping anyone. Your mother asked me to—" "Of course she did." I stood up, pacing. "Let me guess, she wants me to be the bigger person? Accept their love and play happy families? They made a mistake. A mistake." I whirled on him. "A mistake is forgetting someone's birthday. They had an 8-month affair, Jessie. In my bed. While I was working my ass off to build our future." He sighed. "What are you planning, Sawyer? These meetings with Sydney, the new corporations you're setting up, I know you're up to something." "I'm rebuilding my life, that's all." "Really? Because I heard through the grapevine that Ocean View Properties just made an offer on Riverside Plaza. The same property Georgia and Alan have been eyeing for months." I kept my face neutral. "It's a free market." "Don't do this," he pleaded. "Don't become like them." "I'm nothing like them." I walked to the window, watching the city below. They destroyed what was mine. I'm just playing by their rules now. My phone buzzed again. An email from Sydney's contact at the bank. The Riverside Plaza offer had been accepted. "I have to go," I told Jessie. "Meeting with my lawyer." "Sawyer, please." "Thanks for checking on me," I cut him off. "But I know what I'm doing." After he left, Sydney returned with a bottle of champagne. "Congratulations, new owner of Riverside Plaza." We were pouring glasses when my work phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. "Is this Miss Sawyer from Ocean View Properties?" a man's voice asked. "Speaking." "This is Alan Knight. I understand you just purchased Riverside Plaza." My hand tightened on the phone. "That's correct. My company is very interested in leasing the entire property. We'd like to schedule a meeting to discuss terms." Sydney was watching me intently. I took a deep breath. "Of course, Mr. Knight. My assistant will send you our standard lease agreement. The rates are non-negotiable. I'm sure we can come to some arrangement." "The rates are non-negotiable," I repeated firmly. "Take it or leave it." There was a pause. "We'll take it." After hanging up, I downed my champagne in one gulp. "Phase 1 complete," Sydney said. "Ready for Phase 2? I nodded, pulling out the documents she'd prepared earlier. "Time to look into their other properties, every single one." "Remember," Sydney cautioned, "revenge is a long game. Patience is key. Don't worry. I smiled, thinking of Georgia and Alan signing away their future without realizing it. I can be very patient. The lease payments are killing us. Alan's voice drifted through the restaurant's partition. We need to increase tenant rents across all properties to cover it. I froze with my fork halfway to my mouth. I hadn't planned on eavesdropping during my lunch break, but here they were, 2 booths away, discussing business with Jessie. That's a risky move, Jessie replied. The market's already stretched thin. Push too hard and you'll lose good tenants. We don't have a choice, Georgia said. The baby's due in 4 months, and the renovation costs at Riverside are higher than expected. I slid lower in my booth, grateful for the tall partition. Jessie had been trying to broker peace between us for weeks, but I hadn't known he was actively working with them. What about your mother? Jessie asked. Can't she help? She's already leveraged everything she could. Alan sighed. The family business is our responsibility now. Georgia's voice cracked. I just wish Sawyer would talk to us. Maybe if she understood. Understood what? Jessie's tone sharpened. That you betrayed her, that you're running her father's company into the ground. That's not fair, Georgia protested. We're trying our best. Your best? Jessie laughed bitterly. You're planning to raise rents on working families to cover your mistakes. That's not your best, that's desperate. My phone buzzed, Sydney texting about another property we'd identified. I needed to leave before they spotted me, but I was riveted to my seat. Look, Alan said, we know we messed up with Sawyer, but this is business. We need solutions, not lectures. Fine. Here's a solution. Sell Riverside Plaza. Cut your losses. We can't, Georgia said. Ocean View Properties lease terms are ironclad. Breaking it would bankrupt us. I smiled despite myself. Sydney's legal team had done excellent work on that contract. Then find another way, Jessie insisted, because if you go through with these rent hikes, you'll hurt a lot of innocent people. Their voices lowered, and I took the opportunity to slip out, leaving cash on the table. Outside, I bumped straight into Collins Harris, one of their tenants I'd been monitoring. Ms. Sawyer? He looked surprised. I've been trying to reach someone at the management office. I knew why. Georgia and Alan had already started implementing small rent increases at their other properties. What's wrong, Mr. Harris? They're raising my rent by 30%. He ran a hand through his greying hair. My wife's on disability. We can't afford it, but we can't afford to move either. My chest tightened. Collins wasn't part of my revenge plan. He was collateral damage. Have you spoken with the property managers? They won't even return my calls. He pulled out a notice. We have 30 days to either pay or leave. My daughters are in the middle of their school year. Before I could respond, Georgia and Alan emerged from the restaurant. They spotted us immediately. Sawyer. Georgia stepped forward, one hand on her now visible baby bump. I turned away, but Collins spoke up. Mr. Knight, Mrs. Knight, please, about the rent increase. Submit your concerns in writing to the office, Alan said dismissively, still staring at me. Sawyer, can we please talk? I have nothing to say to either of you. I started walking away. You can't avoid us forever, Georgia called after me. We're still family. I spun around. Family, is that what you call this? Jessie emerged from the restaurant, tension visible in his stance. You want to talk? I continued, anger burning through my careful plans. Fine. Let's talk about how you're destroying people's lives to cover your own mistakes. Let's talk about Collins here, whose family you're about to make homeless. Business decisions aren't personal, Alan said stiffly. No? Funny how everything was personal when you were sleeping with my sister in my bed. Georgia flinched. Please, Sawyer, we never meant to get caught. I laughed. Save it. I'm done listening to your excuses. I turned to Collins. Mr. Harris, expect a call from my office this afternoon. We'll figure something out. As I walked away, I heard Jessie. You two really don't get it, do you? She's not the same person you knew. You broke something in her. Back at my office, I called Sydney. We need to accelerate our timeline, I said. They're planning to raise rents across all properties. That works in our favor, Sydney replied. The more desperate they get, the more mistakes they'll make. There's something else. I hesitated. I need to protect their current tenants somehow. Set up a fund maybe, or... Sawyer, Sydney's voice softened. Don't lose focus. This is business. I looked at Collins's notice on my desk. No, this is personal. And if I'm going to destroy them, I'm going to do it right. The annual Riverside Business Association gala wasn't my scene anymore, but Sydney insisted I attend. Know your enemy, she'd said, handing me an invitation. So here I was, wearing a black cocktail dress and a blonde wig, playing the role of Sydney's associate, Sarah. From my position near the bar, I had a perfect view of Georgia, holding court with local business owners. Her baby bump was prominently displayed in an expensive maternity gown, Alan hovering protectively nearby. They're bleeding money, Sydney murmured, appearing beside me. 3 more properties just went underwater on their mortgages. What about the tenant protection fund we set up, already helping 20 families relocate, including the Harris family? She sipped her champagne. But that's not why we're here. Watch your mother. I spotted Jocelyn across the room, deep in conversation with a bank executive I recognized. Her gestures were animated, desperate. She's trying to secure another loan, Sydney explained, but after our anonymous tip about their financial irregularities, no bank will touch them. A familiar voice behind us made me stiffen. Sydney, I didn't expect to see you here. Jesse approached, his eyes narrowing slightly at my disguise. Sydney squeezed my arm in warning. Jesse, have you met my associate Sarah? Can't say that I have. His gaze locked with mine, though she looks remarkably familiar. Before he could say more, commotion erupted near the entrance. Collins Harris stood there, looking out of place in his worn suit. Mr. Knight, he called out. Mrs. Knight, you can't keep ignoring us. Security moved toward him, but he continued. 20 families losing their homes because of your greed. Georgia paled, clutching her stomach. Alan stepped forward. Remove him immediately. You're not the people I thought you were, Collins shouted as security dragged him out. Your father would be ashamed of what you've done to his company. The room fell silent. I watched my mother rush to George's side, while Alan tried to smooth things over with their guests. Well, Jessie said quietly, that was quite a scene, wasn't it, Sawyer? I froze. Sydney intervened smoothly. I think you're mistaken. This is... Save it. Jessie pulled me aside, away from curious onlookers. I've known you 20 years. You think I wouldn't recognize you behind that wig? Keep your voice down. Why are you here? What's your endgame? Before I could answer, George's voice rang out. Oh! She doubled over, grabbing her stomach. The baby, Alan called out. Someone call an ambulance. The room erupted in chaos. As medical personnel arrived, I slipped out to the balcony, needing air. Jessie followed. It's not real, I said before he could speak. She used to pull the same trick when we were kids, fake a fainting spell when things got tough. Maybe, but you still care, or you wouldn't be here in disguise. I'm here because they're destroying everything my father built. I gripped the balcony railing. Did you know he made us promise on his deathbed to keep the business in the family, to take care of our tenants? I remember. Georgia was crying when she made that promise. Crying, and now look at them. Jessie leaned against the railing. You know what I think? I think you're not just angry about the affair. You're angry because they betrayed everything you believed in. Inside, the commotion was dying down. Georgia was being helped to a chair, miraculously recovered. You should have heard them last week, Jessie continued. After the Harris thing hit the local news, Georgia actually said, at least Sawyer never has to know how bad things have gotten. I laughed bitterly. They still think I'm in the dark. They think you've moved away, started fresh. He studied my face. They have no idea you're the one behind Ocean View Properties, do they? No one does, except Sydney, and now you. And what happens when they find out, when they realize you're the one pushing them toward bankruptcy? They deserve it. Maybe they do. Jessie straightened. But this revenge plot, it's changing you, Sawyer. The woman I know wouldn't hide in the shadows. The woman you knew died the day she found her sister in bed with her husband. No. He touched my arm gently. She's still in there. And she's better than this cloak and dagger stuff. Inside, Georgia was making a show of refusing the ambulance, playing the brave mother-to-be. You want me to confront them openly? I asked. I want you to be you, the Sawyer who fights her battles in the light. I watched my family through the glass doors, mother, sister, ex-husband, all playing their parts in this elaborate drama. Maybe you're right, I said finally. Maybe it's time to step out of the shadows. What are you planning? I smiled, thinking of the documents Sydney had shown me earlier. I think it's time for a family reunion, a very public one. They're announcing another rent increase today, Sydney said, spreading the morning paper across my desk. 50% this time. I scanned the headline. Local business owners face criticism over aggressive rent hikes. Below was a photo of Georgia and Alan, both looking appropriately concerned while defending their difficult but necessary business decisions. They're getting desperate, I said. The Riverside Plaza renovations are bleeding them dry. About that, Sydney pulled out her tablet. Look what our investigators found. She showed me photos of the construction site. Instead of the luxury upgrades they'd promised their investors, the work was shoddy, with cheap materials and cut corners everywhere. They're pocketing the difference, Sydney explained, using it to cover their other properties' losses. My phone buzzed. Jessie calling again. I ignored it. That's fraud, I said. Yes, and there's more. Sydney pulled up another document. Remember that charitable foundation your father set up for employee education? Georgia's been dipping into it. The rage I'd been carefully controlling burst free. I grabbed my car keys. Where are you going? To their office. This ends now. Sawyer, wait. But I was already out the door. 20 minutes later, I stormed into the building that used to be my second home. The receptionist's eyes widened. Ms. Sawyer, they're in a meeting. I pushed past her into the main conference room. Georgia, Alan, and my mother sat with a group of investors. They all froze mid-sentence. Sawyer? Georgia stood awkwardly, one hand on her belly. What are you doing here? Protecting our father's legacy. I tossed the construction photos onto the table. Want to explain these to your investors? Alan quickly gathered the photos. This is a private meeting. Is it? Like the private way you've been embezzling from the employee education fund? The investors started murmuring. Mother stood up. Sawyer, that's enough. No, it's not nearly enough. I turned to the investors. Did they tell you they're using substandard materials at Riverside? That they're pocketing the difference? These are baseless accusations, Alan said, but his face had gone pale. Really? Should we call the building inspector? I'm sure he'd love to see these photos. Georgia stepped toward me. Please, Sawyer, whatever you think you know. I know everything. I met her eyes. I know about the fraudulent loan applications, the misappropriated funds, the illegal rent increases. You've been investigating us. Mother's voice was sharp. Someone had to. You were too busy helping them destroy everything Dad built. One of the investors stood up. I think we need to suspend this meeting pending an audit. No, wait, Alan protested. We can explain. Explain what? I cut in. How you're bankrupting the company to cover your own greed. How you're evicting families who've lived in our properties for decades. The conference room door opened and Jessie rushed in. Sawyer, stop. Why? So they can keep pretending they're the victims. Because you're about to reveal your own hand, he said quietly. The room went silent. Georgia looked between us. What's he talking about? I straightened my spine. Ocean View Properties. It's mine. The colour drained from Alan's face. What? I own Riverside Plaza. I'm your landlord, and I have proof of every illegal thing you've done since taking over this company. Mother sank into her chair. You've been behind everything. Not everything. You did most of it yourselves. I just made sure you had enough rope to hang yourselves. The investors were leaving now, muttering about lawyers and audits. Georgia grabbed my arm. Why? Why would you do this to us? I jerked away from her touch. You really have to ask. You took everything from me, my husband, my family, my company. Did you think I'd just disappear? We never meant to hurt you, she whispered. But you did, and now you're hurting innocent people too. I turned to the remaining investors. Check your emails. I've sent documentation of everything I've found. Do with it what you will. Alan stepped forward. You've destroyed us. No. I met his gaze steadily. You did that yourselves. I just made sure everyone would know the truth. As I turned to leave, Mother called out, He would be ashamed of you, Sawyer. Your father would be ashamed of what you've done to this family. I stopped at the door. No, Mother. He'd be ashamed of what this family did to his legacy, and now everyone will know exactly who's responsible. Jesse followed me out. In the elevator, he finally spoke. Feel better? Not yet. I checked my phone. Sydney had texted that phase 2 was ready, but I will soon. What else are you planning? I thought of the press conference scheduled for tomorrow, where I'd announce Ocean View Properties' new tenant protection program. Justice, I said as the elevator doors opened. Real justice this time. The press conference room buzzed with anticipation. Reporters filled every seat, cameras flashing as Sydney introduced me to the podium. In the back, I spotted Jesse slipping in quietly. Good morning, I began. I'm Sawyer, CEO of Ocean View Properties. Today, I'm announcing our new tenant protection initiative, starting with a complete reversal of all recent rent increases across our managed properties. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A reporter raised her hand. Including Riverside Plaza? Especially Riverside Plaza, I smiled. Additionally, we're establishing a $5 million fund to assist displaced tenants with relocation costs and down payments. The door burst open. Georgia waddled in, followed by Alan and my mother. Perfect timing. You can't do this, Georgia shouted. You're trying to bankrupt us. Cameras swiveled toward them. I maintained my composure. I believe we have some unexpected guests. Georgia, Alan, Mother, would you like to join me up here? Make this a real family discussion. Alan stepped forward. This is a publicity stunt. She's using these tenants as pawns in her revenge plot. Revenge? I gestured to Collins Harris, who stood up from his seat in the front row. Mr. Harris, would you like to tell everyone about your experience with the current management? Collins approached the microphone. They raised our rent by 50%. When we couldn't pay, they gave us 3 days to leave. My wife, my kids, all of us. We'd lived there 12 years. That's business, Alan protested. Market forces. Market forces, I interrupted, like the fraudulent loan applications you submitted, or the construction shortcuts at Riverside Plaza. More cameras flashed. Mother pushed forward. Sawyer, stop this immediately. Why? Afraid of the truth coming out? I pulled out a folder. Like the truth about Dad's educational foundation, the one Georgia's been stealing from. Georgia clutched her stomach, her usual dramatic move. The stress, the baby. Oh, save it, I snapped. Your fake contractions might work on others, but I grew up watching you perfect that act. A reporter stood up. Are you saying the current management has been embezzling funds? I'm saying, I held up a USB drive, that everything is documented here. Financial records, fraudulent applications, proof of misappropriated charitable funds. I'm turning it all over to the district attorney's office today. You'd send your own sister to jail? Mother's voice cracked. You'd let her steal from children's education funds, I countered. Dad set up that foundation to help employees' kids go to college. How many dreams has she stolen? Alan stepped to the podium. This is a family matter that's gotten out of hand. My wife and I. Ex-wife, I corrected. Or did you forget you're still legally married to me while playing house with my sister? The room erupted in questions. Cameras clicked frantically. Yes, I continued. The current management team consists of my ex-husband and my sister, who had an affair while I was building this company. My mother knew and helped them hide it. Now they're destroying everything my father built. Georgia started crying. Real tears this time. Please, Sawyer, think about the baby. I am thinking about the baby and all the other children affected by your greed. I turned back to the reporters. Ocean View Properties is implementing immediate changes. All eviction notices are suspended. Rent rates will return to previous levels. The Tenant Protection Fund begins today. You'll destroy us, Alan said. No, I'm saving what's left of my father's legacy. I nodded to Sydney, who started distributing packets to the press. You'll find complete documentation of our new initiatives here, along with evidence of the current management's misconduct. This isn't what Dad would have wanted, Georgia pleaded. Really? I pulled out one last document. This is Dad's last letter to me, written a week before he died. He knew something was wrong with the company books. He asked me to protect his life's work. I met Mother's eyes. To protect the families who trusted us. Mother's face crumpled. For the first time, I saw real shame there. The DA's office will be in touch, I told them. I suggest you get lawyers. As security escorted them out, Jessie approached the podium. You okay? Getting there. I turned back to the reporters. Any questions? An hour later, in my office, Sydney poured champagne. That went better than expected. Did it? I watched the news coverage on my laptop. They're still my family. Family who betrayed you, she reminded me. Jessie knocked and entered. Georgia's being admitted to the hospital. Real contractions this time. Something twisted in my chest. Is she okay? Since when do you care? I don't. But my hand shook as I picked up my glass. I can't care anymore. Jessie sat down. You know, revenge doesn't have to mean burning every bridge. Those bridges were already ash, I said, but my voice lacked conviction. My phone buzzed. A text from Mother. The baby's coming. Please come. Despite everything, you're still her sister. I stared at the message, feeling the weight of choices yet to come. The hospital corridor stretched endlessly before me as I followed the signs to labor and delivery. Jessie walked beside me, carrying the small teddy bear he'd insisted on buying from the gift shop. You don't have to do this, he said. I know. I stopped outside room 412, hearing Georgia's muffled cries through the door. But I do. Inside, Mother sat beside Georgia's bed while Alan paced nervously. They all froze when they saw me. Sawyer? Georgia's face was streaked with tears, hair plastered to her forehead. You came? Before I could answer, she doubled over with another contraction. Without thinking, I moved to her side, taking her hand. Breathe, I said. Remember how Mum taught us? Like when you had those panic attacks in high school. She squeezed my hand hard, following my breathing pattern until the contraction passed. Why are you here? Alan demanded. Haven't you done enough damage? Alan, Mother warned, not now. No, he's right. I released Georgia's hand. I shouldn't have come. Wait, Georgia grabbed my wrist. Please stay. I need to tell you something before. Another contraction hit. The doctor entered, checking Georgia's progress. It's time to push. Sawyer, Georgia pleaded, stay, please. I looked at Alan, who stood rigid by the window. It's not my place. Yes, it is, Mother said quietly. You're her sister. 2 hours later, amid tears and screams and more hand-crushing than I thought possible, my niece entered the world. They placed her in Georgia's arms, this tiny red-faced bundle who knew nothing of betrayal or revenge. Her name is Emma, Georgia whispered. After Dad. The room went silent. Our father's middle name had been Emmanuel. Can you... Georgia looked at me. Can you hold her, just for a minute? Before I could refuse, she was placing Emma in my arms. The baby's eyes opened, Dad's eyes, looking up at me with innocent trust. I'm so sorry, Georgia said softly. For everything. I know it doesn't change anything, but I need you to know. I kept my eyes on Emma. You're right, it doesn't change anything. The DA called, Alan said. They're launching a formal investigation. Good. I handed Emma back to Georgia. You should be investigated. We'll lose everything, Mother said. You already lost everything. I moved toward the door. The moment you chose lies over loyalty. Wait. Georgia struggled to sit up. There's something you need to know. About Dad's letter. I turned back. What about it? He wrote one to me too. The week before he died. She nodded to Mother, who pulled an envelope from her purse. I've been too ashamed to show anyone. I took the letter, recognizing Dad's handwriting. My dearest Georgia, I see you struggling with the books, trying to hide the mistakes. I know you're afraid of disappointing everyone, but secrets have a way of destroying what we hold dear. Your sister has the strength to help, if you'll only trust her. Remember, family isn't about being perfect, it's about being honest. Love, Dad. My hands shook. You had this the whole time? I was too proud to ask for help, Georgia whispered, then too ashamed of what I'd done. By the time Alan and I... She trailed off. You could have come to me, before any of this. I know, but I was jealous. You were always the strong one, the successful one. I wanted to prove I could handle things myself. Emma started crying. As Georgia rocked her, Alan stepped forward. I never meant for any of this to happen, he said. The affair, the fraud. It all spiraled out of control. Save it for the DA. I handed the letter back to Georgia. I'm done here. Sawyer, Mother called as I reached the door. What your father said about family and honesty, it goes both ways. I paused. Meaning? Meaning revenge isn't honest either. It's just another form of hiding. Jessie, who'd been silent throughout, finally spoke. She's right, you know. I looked at my niece still crying in Georgia's arms, at Alan's defeated posture, at Mother's pleading eyes. I'm not hiding anymore, I said. Everything I've done is now in the open. The DA will investigate. Justice will be served. I met Georgia's eyes. But Emma deserves better than a family built on revenge and resentment. What are you saying? Georgia asked. I'm saying, maybe it's time for all of us to be honest, really honest, about everything. Including Ocean View Properties? Alan asked. Including that. I took a deep breath. We'll meet tomorrow, all of us, with our lawyers, and we'll lay everything on the table. Thank you, Georgia whispered. Don't thank me yet. I opened the door. The truth might hurt more than the revenge. As Jessie and I walked out, he squeezed my shoulder. You did good in there. Did I? Or am I just trading one kind of revenge for another? No, he said. You're choosing truth over pain. That's not revenge. That's healing. The conference room felt smaller with all the lawyers present. Sydney sat to my right, Jessie to my left, while Georgia, Alan, and Mother faced us across the table. Emma slept peacefully in her carrier, oblivious to the tension. Let's begin, my lawyer said, spreading documents across the table. Ms. Sawyer has a proposal. I cleared my throat. Ocean View Properties will take control of all company assets. Absolutely not, Alan's lawyer protested. Let me finish. I pulled out the tenant protection agreement. In exchange, all criminal charges will be dropped. The company will be restructured, with a board of trustees overseeing operations. Georgia leaned forward. What does that mean exactly? It means, Sydney explained, that none of us will have unilateral control. Every major decision requires board approval. Who's on this board? Mother asked. Me, Sydney, Jessie, and... I took a deep breath. You, Mother, because Dad would have wanted you involved. The room fell silent. Alan shifted uncomfortably. What about us? You and Georgia will retain positions in the company, but under supervision. All financial decisions will be reviewed, and you'll both enter a repayment program for the embezzled funds. That's surprisingly generous, Georgia's lawyer said. It's not generosity. I looked at Emma. It's pragmatism. This company needs to survive, not just for us, but for everyone who depends on it. Mother dabbed her eyes. Your father would be proud. Don't. I held up my hand. This isn't forgiveness. It's business. But it could be a start, Jessie suggested quietly. Georgia reached for Alan's hand. What about the tenants? The ones we hurt? The protection program stays. Rents return to previous levels. And I slid another document forward. You two will personally oversee the restoration of the Education Foundation. Working with the families we wronged, Alan realized. Exactly. Face to face. No hiding behind lawyers or managers. Sydney opened her laptop. The press release is ready. We can announce the restructuring today. Wait, Georgia said. Before we sign anything, I need to say something. She stood unsteady on her feet. What we did to you, Sawyer, the affair, the lies, everything, it wasn't just a betrayal. It was cruel. And I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not even asking for understanding. I'm just... She glanced at Emma. I'm asking for a chance to show her a better way. By accepting consequences, Alan added, standing beside her. Real ones. I studied them both. You'll have to earn back every bit of trust, not just mine, but the community's. We know, they said together. Mother reached across the table. And I need to earn back your trust too. I failed both my daughters by choosing sides, by enabling lies instead of demanding truth. I didn't take her hand, but I didn't pull away when she touched my arm. The board meetings will be weekly, I said, full transparency, no exceptions. The lawyers exchanged documents. As we signed, Emma woke up crying. Without thinking, I reached for her, and Georgia let me lift her out. Hey there, little one, I whispered. We're building something better for you, something honest. Jessie smiled. Something your grandfather would be proud of. As if on cue, Sydney pulled out one final document. Speaking of which, what's this? Mother asked. The official renaming proposal. I bounced Emma gently. Chavez Family Holdings, because that's what Dad always wanted. His name, his values, his legacy. But with proper oversight this time, Sydney added firmly. The lawyers left first, followed by Sydney to handle the press. Alan and Georgia lingered by the door. Thank you, Georgia said, not for forgiveness, but for possibility. I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. Mother was the last to leave. Sawyer, that letter from your father, the one about protecting his legacy, what about it? He wrote it to you because he knew you'd find a way to save us all, even from ourselves. After everyone left, Jessie stayed. You okay? He asked. No. I sat heavily in my chair. But maybe that's good. Maybe okay isn't what we need right now. What do we need? Truth, justice, and... I thought of Emma's tiny hand gripping my finger. Maybe something like hope. Hope looks good on you, he smiled. Better than revenge. Much better. He helped me gather the documents. So, ready to build something new? I looked around the conference room, where so many family meetings had been held, where so many decisions, good and bad, had shaped our lives. Not new, I said, just better, stronger, more honest. Like your father wanted. No. I smiled, really smiled, for the first time in months, like we all need. Outside, the press waited for the announcement, but in that moment, in that room, something shifted. Not forgiveness exactly, but possibility. And maybe that was the best revenge of all.
I always thought identity theft happened to strangers, not family, not your own sister. But there it was, staring at me from my kitchen counter, a credit card statement with my name on it, showing purchases I'd never made at stores I'd never visited. My name is Annabelle, and my sister Olivia has always been the golden child. While I worked my way through college waiting tables, she breezed through law school on our parents' dime. When I bought my modest first car, she got a BMW for her birthday. That's just how things were in our family. Olivia first, me second. Annie, you won't believe what happened at work today. Olivia's voice rang through my phone just last week during our regular sister catch-up call. The partners are considering me for a promotion. Me, the youngest associate. That's amazing, Liv, I replied, trying to ignore the familiar twinge of inadequacy. You always land on your feet. Well, her voice dropped to a whisper. Between us, things aren't quite as perfect as they seem. I'm having some money troubles. That got my attention. What kind of troubles? Just some credit card debt, and the mortgage, and my car payment. She sighed dramatically. I don't know what to do, Annie. I can't tell Mom and Dad. They'd be so disappointed. My heart ached for her. I can help you make a budget, maybe look into debt consolidation. You're the best sister ever, she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. I don't know what I'd do without you. Now, staring at this mysterious credit card statement, her words took on a whole new meaning. My hands shook as I opened the envelope and scanned the charges. $500 at Nordstrom, $300 at Sephora, $750 at some high-end furniture store, all in the past month, all under my name. This has to be a mistake, I muttered, reaching for my phone. I dialed the credit card company's number. Hello, I'm calling about some charges I don't recognize on my account. 20 minutes later, I hung up feeling sick to my stomach. The account had been opened 6 months ago, with my social security number and all my personal information. The representative confirmed multiple cards had been issued, all actively being used. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Family dinner tonight at 6. Don't be late like last time. I couldn't face them. Not yet. Not until I knew for sure. I called my best friend Eric instead. Hey, what's up? His familiar voice was comforting. Can you come over? I need your help with something. Be there in 15. When Eric arrived, I showed him the statement. His usually cheerful face turned serious as he examined it. Look at these signatures, he said, pointing to the back of the statement. Compare them to this birthday card Olivia sent you last month. The resemblance was undeniable. Same elaborate O, same flowing curves. She's been living this perfect life by stealing from me, I whispered, the reality finally sinking in. My own sister. My phone buzzed again. Mom, where are you? Everyone's waiting. Go to dinner, Eric advised. Act normal. We'll figure this out. An hour later, I sat at my parents' dining table, watching Olivia charm everyone with stories about her latest court victory. She wore a new dress I'd seen on the credit card statement. Annie, you're quiet tonight, Mom noticed, passing the potatoes. Everything okay? Just tired from work, I lied, avoiding Olivia's gaze. You work too hard, Olivia chimed in, reaching for the wine. You should treat yourself sometimes. I gripped my fork tighter, thinking of all the ways she'd been treating herself, with my identity, my credit, my future. Maybe I will, I replied, meeting her eyes. For a split second, I saw something flicker across her face. Fear? Guilt? But then it was gone, replaced by her usual dazzling smile. As I drove home that night, my mind raced. The sister I'd looked up to, the one I'd always tried to measure up to, had been stealing from me all along. The perfect life she flaunted was built on lies. My lies. I pulled into my driveway and noticed another envelope in my mailbox, another credit card statement. This time, when I opened it, I didn't feel shock or confusion. I felt something else entirely. Rage. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about years of being second best, of making excuses for her, of trying to help her even when she was actively destroying my life. Well, no more. It was time for little sister to step out of the shadow and into the light. And Olivia? She was about to learn that karma has a way of catching up, especially when karma has access to bank statements and a very good memory. You need to see this, I told Eric, spreading documents across my kitchen table. 3 credit cards, 2 personal loans, and a store card, all opened in my name over the last 8 months. Eric whistled as he flipped through the papers. How much are we talking about? Almost $40,000. My voice cracked. And that's just what I've found so far. Have you checked your credit report? I nodded, pulling up the website on my laptop. Look at this. My score dropped 200 points. I didn't even notice because I haven't needed to use my credit recently. We should document everything, Eric said, already reaching for his phone to take photos. Every statement, every charge, every signature. My phone lit up with a text from Olivia. Hey sis, lunch tomorrow? My treat. The audacity, Eric muttered, reading over my shoulder. Your treat is right. Technically, I typed back. Sure, usual place at 12:30? Perfect, can't wait to see you. You're really going? Eric asked, raising an eyebrow. Know your enemy, I replied, sorting through more paperwork. Plus, I want to see if she slips up. The next day, I arrived at our favorite cafe to find Olivia already seated, wearing another new outfit. She stood to hug me, her designer perfume overwhelming. I ordered your usual, she said, beaming. The salmon salad, right? I forced a smile. Thanks. So, she leaned forward conspiratorially. Remember that promotion I mentioned? It's happening, but... Her face fell slightly. The partnership buy-in is steep. I might need to borrow some money. My stomach churned. How much? Just $15,000? I'll pay you back as soon as the first profit shares come in. I took a sip of water, buying time. Why not ask Mom and Dad? Oh, you know how they get. All those questions. She waved her hand dismissively. Besides, you're so much better with money than I am. You always have been. Have I? I asked, thinking of the fraudulent charges. Seems like you're doing pretty well for yourself. Something flickered in her eyes. What do you mean? Just that your lifestyle seems expensive. The waiter arrived with our food, breaking the tension. Olivia immediately launched into a story about her latest court case, skillfully changing the subject. After lunch, I headed straight to the bank. The manager's office was cool and quiet, a welcome relief from my racing thoughts. Ms. Grant, the manager said, reviewing my documentation. This is serious. Identity theft typically requires filing a police report. It's complicated, I replied. Can you at least freeze my accounts for now? Of course. We'll also flag any new applications using your social security number. Back home, Eric was waiting with more discoveries. I did some digging, he said, pulling up a spreadsheet. Look at these transactions. She's been systematically maxing out each card, then opening new ones. Classic credit card kiting, I muttered. She's a lawyer. She knows exactly what she's doing. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Dinner at Grandma Melena's this Saturday. She's making your favorite pot roast. Perfect timing, Eric said. Your grandmother's always been the voice of reason in your family. I shook my head. I can't ruin another family dinner, not yet. Then when? While she ruins your credit score even more? Before I could respond, my email pinged. My heart stopped when I saw the subject line. Your loan application has been approved. What loan application? I clicked open the email. $50,000? I never applied for this. Eric grabbed his laptop. When was this submitted? Yesterday, right after our lunch. My hands were shaking. She must have gotten desperate when I wouldn't give her the $15,000. This is crossing a line, Annabelle. She's escalating. I stared at the approval letter, feeling something inside me harden. You're right. No more waiting. I pulled out my phone and opened my photo gallery. Pictures of forged signatures, screenshots of fraudulent applications, spreadsheets tracking every unauthorized charge, months of evidence meticulously gathered. What are you going to do? Eric asked quietly. Grandma's dinner is Saturday, I said, my voice steady. Everyone will be there. It's time for the perfect sister to face some imperfect truths. As I organized the evidence into a folder, another email arrived. A payment confirmation for a luxury spa weekend, charged to one of my cards. She's not even trying to hide it anymore, I said, adding the new charge to my spreadsheet. She thinks I'm too weak to stand up to her. Eric squeezed my shoulder. She's about to learn otherwise. Yes, I agreed, closing the folder. She certainly is. I stood outside Olivia's apartment building, clutching my folder of evidence. The doorman recognized me and let me up without calling. After all, I was here often enough, always playing the role of supportive sister. Not today. I knocked on her door, hearing muffled voices inside, a man's voice, then quick footsteps. Olivia opened the door, looking flustered. "Annie, what are you doing here? We need to talk." I pushed past her into the apartment. A man I didn't recognize was hastily putting on his jacket. "I'll call you later," he said to Olivia, slipping past me. "Who was that?" I asked after he left. "Just a colleague." Olivia straightened her blouse. "What's so urgent?" I dropped the folder on her glass coffee table. "Care to explain these?" She barely glanced at the contents. "What are those supposed to be?" "Credit card statements, loan applications, all in my name, all with your signature." Her face remained perfectly composed. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Really?" I pulled out my phone, showing her a video. "This is security footage from Nordstrom last week. That's you, using my credit card." Finally, a crack in her facade. "Annie, listen." "No, you listen." My voice shook. $40,000 in credit card debt. A $50,000 loan I never applied for. My credit score is ruined. I was gonna pay it all back. She paced the room, wine glass in hand. "Things got a little out of control, but I have it handled." "Handled? You're committing fraud." "Don't be so dramatic." She took a long sip of wine. "We're sisters. What's mine is yours, right?" "That's not how this works, Liv. You stole my identity." "I borrowed it," she corrected, refilling her glass. "Temporarily, once this promotion comes through." "There is no promotion, is there?" Her silence was answer enough. "How long have you been lying to everyone?" I pressed. "About your job, your money, everything?" "You don't understand the pressure I'm under." She collapsed onto her designer couch, probably bought with my credit card. "Everyone expects me to be perfect. Mom, Dad, the whole family. So you decided to destroy my life instead of admitting you needed help?" Her phone rang. She glanced at it, then declined the call. "It's just a collections agency. They've been harassing me." "In my name." "Look." She set down her wine glass, suddenly businesslike. "What do you want? Money? I can get it. Just give me time." "I want my identity back. I want you to confess to Mom and Dad." "No." She stood up, swaying slightly. "You can't tell them. They'll never forgive me. Then I'll go to the police." "You wouldn't dare." Her eyes narrowed. "I'm your sister." "Are you? Because sisters don't do this to each other." My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Don't forget dinner at Grandma's tomorrow." Olivia saw the message. "You better not say anything tomorrow." "Or what?" "Or I'll tell them about that abortion you had in college." I froze. "How did you—" "I'm your emergency contact, remember? The clinic called me when you didn't answer your phone. That was 5 years ago. I was scared and alone. Mom would be heartbroken. Dad would never look at you the same way." I grabbed my folder and headed for the door. "You really want to play this game? Fine. But remember, I have actual evidence of your crimes." "Annie, wait." She grabbed my arm. "Please, I'm sorry. I'll figure something out." "You have until tomorrow night," I said, pulling away. "Either you tell them or I will." As I walked to my car, my phone rang. "Eric." "How did it go?" "She tried to blackmail me." I started the engine. "But I'm done being afraid of her." What's the plan? Dinner at Grandma's tomorrow. One way or another, the truth comes out. Want me on standby? Please, I might need a getaway driver. After hanging up, I sat in my car, watching Olivia's apartment window. Her silhouette paced back and forth, phone to her ear, probably calling in favors, trying to find a way out of this mess. But there was no way out. Not anymore. My phone buzzed again, another credit alert. She just tried to open a new card in my name. Really, Liv? I muttered, adding it to my evidence file. You're just making this easier for me. Tomorrow, the perfect sister would fall from her pedestal. Tomorrow, the truth would shatter our family's carefully maintained illusions. Tomorrow, Olivia would learn that some debts can't be paid with stolen credit cards, and I would finally step out of her shadow into my own light. Grandma Milena's house always smelled like pot roast and lavender. Today, it also reeked of tension. Annie, you're early, Mom said, stirring something on the stove. Help me with these potatoes? I grabbed a peeler, watching Olivia through the kitchen window. She was outside with Dad and our family friend Virgil, laughing at something on her phone. She'd shown up in another new outfit, complete with designer sunglasses. Olivia looks stressed lately, Grandma Milena observed, settling into her kitchen chair. Too much work, I think. Something like that, I muttered. What was that, dear? Nothing, Grandma. The doorbell rang. Olivia rushed to answer it, nearly tripping over her own feet. I'll get it, I heard hushed voices, then the door closing. When Olivia returned to the backyard, her hands were shaking as she lit a cigarette. Since when does she smoke? Mom frowned. Since when doesn't she? I replied, perhaps too sharply. Mom gave me a look. What's going on between you two? Why don't you ask her about her promotion? I suggested, setting down the peeler. The one that requires a $15,000 buy-in? Before Mom could respond, Olivia burst back into the kitchen, making a beeline for the wine cabinet. It's barely 4 o'clock, Grandma Milena noted. It's 5 somewhere. Olivia's laugh was too high, too brittle. I watched her pour a generous glass of red wine, her third since arriving an hour ago. Olivia, I said quietly, remember our conversation yesterday? She nearly dropped the wine bottle. Not now, Annie. When, then, after you've opened another credit card in my name? What? Mom turned from the stove. What are you talking about? Nothing, Olivia said quickly. Annie's just confused about some paperwork. $40,000 worth of confusion? I pulled out my phone, showing Mom the latest credit alert. This just came through an hour ago. Another attempt to open a card in my name. The kitchen fell silent. Even the sounds from the backyard seemed muted. Girls? Grandma Milena's voice was gentle but firm. What's happening? Olivia drained her wine glass. It's not what it looks like. Really? I opened my evidence folder on the kitchen table. Because it looks like identity theft, fraud, and enough evidence to put you in prison. Prison? Mom's face went pale. Olivia, what did you do? I needed help. Olivia's voice cracked. The firm was downsizing. I lost my job 6 months ago. The bills were piling up. You lost your job? Dad appeared in the doorway, Virgil behind him. But you said you were getting promoted. I lied, okay? Olivia's mascara was running now. I lied about everything, the job, the money, all of it. So you stole from your sister? Grandma Milena's disappointment was palpable. I was going to pay it back. Olivia reached for the wine bottle again, but Dad moved it away. How? I demanded. With what money? The money from the job you don't have? Virgil stepped forward, looking uncomfortable. I should go. No, stay, I said. You should hear this too. That business investment she asked you about last week? She was planning to use my identity for that too. Virgil's eyes widened. Is that true? Olivia's silence was damning. There's more, I continued, pulling out more documents. Remember that luxury car she bought last month? The one she said was a company perk? That's in my name, too, along with 3 credit cards, 2 personal loans, and a store card. Oh, Olivia, Mom sank into a chair. How could you? I'm sorry. Olivia was fully crying now. I didn't know what else to do. You could have told us the truth, Dad said quietly. We would have helped you. I didn't want to disappoint you. She looked around the kitchen, finding no sympathy. Annie, please, don't do this. You did this, I replied. Every time you forged my signature, every time you lied, every time you chose your pride over my future. Grandma Milena stood up slowly. Olivia, go wash your face. When you come back, we're going to discuss how you're going to fix this. Fix it? Olivia laughed hysterically. I'm drowning in debt. I can barely afford my rent. Then maybe, I said, gathering my evidence, it's time to stop living a lie and start facing reality. As Olivia stumbled toward the bathroom, I caught a glimpse of her phone screen. Another loan application, half filled out. In my name. She hadn't learned anything at all. But the night was still young, and I wasn't done yet, not by a long shot. She's still trying to open accounts in your name? Eric's voice crackled through my phone speaker. Even after being caught? I paced my living room, too wired to sit. 3 attempts since the confrontation at Grandma's. She's desperate. What did your parents say? Dad's devastated. Mom keeps making excuses. She was under so much pressure. She didn't mean to hurt anyone. I kicked off my shoes. Meanwhile, Olivia's playing victim. She called me 5 times yesterday, crying about how I've ruined her life. You ruined her life? That's rich. My doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Olivia, mascara smeared, clutching her designer purse. She's here, I whispered to Eric. I'll call you back. Want me to come over? No, but stay by your phone. I opened the door. Olivia stumbled in, reeking of alcohol at 2 p.m. You have to help me, she slurred. The bank's threatening to repossess my car. You mean my car? The one you fraudulently purchased in my name? She collapsed onto my couch. I can't lose everything, Annie. I just can't. You should have thought about that before. I know what I did, she shouted, then immediately softened her voice. I know, but you're my sister. We can figure something out. My phone buzzed. Another credit alert. I checked it, then held up the screen. Like this? Another credit card application? Submitted 20 minutes ago? Color drained from her face. I was desperate. Get out. Annie, please. Get out. I yanked open the door. Before I call the police. She stood unsteadily. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Fine. She grabbed her purse. But remember, I know things about you too. Things that would break Mom's heart. Go ahead. Tell them about the abortion. Tell them everything. At least I'm not a criminal. She stepped closer, her wine-soured breath in my face. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Is that a threat? It's a warning. Back off, little sister. You're playing a game you can't win. After she left, I called Eric back. She threatened me, I said, hands shaking. Actually threatened me. That's it. We're going to the police. No, not yet. I have a better idea. I pulled up my calendar. Mom's birthday dinner is this weekend. Everyone will be there, including Grandma Milena. What are you thinking? Olivia can't resist a captive audience or an open bar. You're going to let her drink? I'm going to let her do what she always does, try to charm her way out of trouble. Only this time, it won't work. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Family meeting tomorrow night. Please come. We need to discuss Olivia's situation. Perfect, I muttered. Another chance for her to manipulate everyone. Want backup? Eric asked. No, I need to handle this myself, but I'll record everything. The next evening, I arrived at my parents' house to find Olivia already holding court in the living room. I've been looking at rehabilitation programs, she was saying, for shopping addiction. It's a real condition, you know. That doesn't explain the identity theft, Dad said firmly. Daddy, I was sick. I wasn't thinking clearly. I cleared my throat. Everyone turned. Annie, Olivia jumped up. I was just telling everyone about my recovery plan. Really? I pulled out my phone. Does your recovery plan include the loan application you submitted this morning or the credit card you tried to open yesterday? Mom gasped. Olivia, you promised you'd stop. I had to. Olivia's voice rose hysterically. My landlord's threatening to evict me. Where am I supposed to go? Home, Grandma Milena said quietly. Where we can help you. The right way. I don't need help. I need everyone to stop judging me. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. She's getting worse, I said into the silence. And she's not going to stop until someone makes her. What do you suggest? Dad asked. I took a deep breath. I have a plan, but I need everyone's help. As I outlined my idea, I saw understanding dawn in their faces. Even Mom, always quick to defend Olivia, nodded slowly. My phone buzzed one last time. Another credit alert. This time, I smiled. Let her dig herself deeper. By Sunday night, she'd learned that some holes are too deep to charm your way out of, and I'd be there to watch her fall. Mom's birthday dinner was in full swing at the upscale restaurant Dad had chosen. Olivia was on her fourth martini, regaling everyone with stories about cases she hadn't actually worked on. And then the judge said, she paused, swaying slightly. Annie, why aren't you drinking? It's a celebration. Someone has to drive, I replied, watching her reach for the wine list. Grandma Milena caught my eye and nodded slightly. The plan was in motion. Olivia, darling, Mom said, tell everyone about your new position at the firm. Olivia's hand froze on her glass. Oh, it's still in negotiations. Really? I pulled out my phone. Because I called your firm yesterday. They said you haven't worked there for 8 months. The table went silent. You had no right, Olivia hissed. I had every right, especially after this arrived today. I slid a document across the table. Another loan application for $60,000. Dad picked up the paper. Olivia, this was submitted an hour ago. I can explain. Please do, Grandma Milena said. Explain why you're still trying to steal from your sister. Olivia grabbed her martini, draining it. You don't understand. None of you do. I had a plan. Was your plan to destroy my credit? To rack up enough debt to buy a house? I leaned forward. Or was it just to keep living a lie until everything fell apart? Stop it. She slammed her glass down. You're just jealous because I'm the successful one. Successful? I laughed. You're unemployed, drowning in debt, and facing potential criminal charges. That's not success, Olivia. That's delusion. She tried to stand but stumbled. Dad caught her arm. Sit down, he said firmly. We're not done. I'm done, she slurred. I don't have to listen to this. Actually, you do. I nodded to the waiter who brought over a laptop. Because I have something to show everyone. I opened the computer, turning it so everyone could see. On screen was a detailed spreadsheet of every fraudulent transaction, every forged signature, every illegal application. 8 months, I narrated as I scrolled. Over $90,000 in total debt. 23 attempts to open new accounts, including 3 since you were caught. Olivia reached for another drink, but Grandma Milena moved it away. That's enough alcohol, she said. It's time for truth. Fine, Olivia's voice rose, drawing looks from nearby tables. You want the truth? I lost everything. My job, my apartment, my reputation, all because of one mistake. What mistake? Mom asked softly. I borrowed money from a client's account, just temporarily, but someone found out, and I had to resign before they reported me to the bar association. Dad put his head in his hands. Oh, Olivia. I thought I could fix it, she continued, mascara running. Get another job, pay it back before anyone noticed. But then the bills kept coming, and my savings ran out, and Annie always had perfect credit. So you stole my identity. I borrowed it. I was going to pay everything back. With what money? I pulled up another document. Your bank account shows a balance of negative $400. You haven't made a single payment on any of these debts. I can't. She started sobbing. I can't do this anymore. That's right, Grandma Milena said. You can't, which is why we're here. I pulled out a final document. This is a confession letter detailing everything you've done. Sign it. Or what? Or I go to the police. Your choice. Her hand shook as she read the letter. This says I have to pay everything back. Every penny, Dad confirmed, through legitimate work and a payment plan we've arranged. And community service, I added. Lots of it. You're destroying my life, she whispered. No, Olivia, you did that yourself. She stared at the letter for a long moment, then grabbed a pen. Her signature was shaky but legible. What happens now? She asked, suddenly sounding very small. Now, Mom said, you come home, where we can help you recover, the right way. And my apartment, my things, all gone, I said. The luxury lifestyle you couldn't afford ends tonight. Olivia slumped in her chair, the reality finally sinking in. Her perfect facade had cracked, revealing the mess beneath. As we left the restaurant, she grabbed my arm. I really am sorry, Annie. I know, I replied, gently removing her hand. But sorry isn't enough anymore. Actions have consequences, Olivia. It's time you faced yours. She nodded, then let Dad lead her to his car. As they drove away, Grandma Milena squeezed my hand. You did the right thing, she said. I know, I replied, watching the taillights disappear. But why doesn't it feel like victory? 1 week after the restaurant confrontation, I stood in Olivia's apartment, helping her pack. The designer clothes were gone, sold to pay debts. The luxury furniture would go next. What about this? I held up a framed law school diploma. Keep it, she said quietly, to remind me of what I lost. Mom appeared in the doorway with empty boxes. The donation truck will be here in an hour. Olivia nodded, folding a simple sweater. She looked different now. No makeup, hair pulled back, wearing jeans and a t-shirt. More real somehow. Annie, she said suddenly, there's something you should see. She disappeared into her bedroom and returned with a small box. Inside were dozens of family photos, holidays, birthdays, graduations. In every picture, she was front and center, beaming, while I stood in the background. I kept these to remind myself who I was supposed to be, she explained. The perfect daughter, the successful lawyer, the one who had it all together. And now I know it was all fake. Every smile, every achievement, built on lies and stolen identity. The doorbell rang. Dad's voice carried from the entryway. The credit counselor is here. A woman in a business suit entered, carrying a thick folder. Ms. Grant, I'm Sarah from Financial Recovery Services. Olivia straightened her shoulders. Yes, that's me. I've reviewed your case. The total debt across all fraudulent accounts is $93,427. We've worked out a payment plan, but it will take time. How long? I asked. With community service credit and minimum wage work? About 5 years. Olivia's face crumpled. 5 years? Would you prefer prison? Dad's voice was stern. Because that's the alternative. No, she whispered. I'll do it. Sarah opened her folder. Let's go through the terms. First, you'll work at the homeless shelter 4 days a week. The salary goes directly to debt repayment. Weekends, you'll do community service at the local library. What about my law license? Suspended, Dad said. The Bar Association's Ethics Committee is reviewing your case. Olivia nodded, tears falling. I deserve that. You'll live with us, Mom added. No rent but strict rules. No credit cards. No loans. No internet shopping. And weekly therapy, I said. Non-negotiable. Sarah pulled out more papers. I need signatures on these forms. They authorize wage garnishment and credit monitoring. As Olivia signed, her hands trembling, I noticed something. For the first time, she was using her own signature, not the flowing script she'd used to forge mine. There's one more thing, I said, pulling out my own document, a contract between sisters. Olivia looked up. What? If you complete the payment plan, attend therapy, and stay honest for 5 years, I'll help you rebuild. But if you ever try to steal my identity again, you'll press charges, she finished. I understand. Not just charges. I'll walk away, permanently. The room went silent. Even Mom, always ready to defend Olivia, said nothing. Sign it, I said. She did, then pushed back from the table. I need some air. On the balcony, Olivia lit her last cigarette. I really thought I could fix everything myself. Keep the perfect image going. Perfect isn't real, I replied. Neither was the person you were pretending to be. And now, who am I now? Someone who has to earn back trust, starting with mine. The donation truck arrived, and we watched as Olivia's carefully curated life was loaded away. Designer bags, expensive art, the trappings of success she'd bought with stolen credit. Your first shift at the shelter starts tomorrow, Dad said. 6 a.m. sharp. I'll drive you, I offered. Olivia looked surprised. You will? Every morning, until you prove you can handle it yourself. Think of it as accountability. And protection, Mom added, to make sure you don't run away. I won't, Olivia said firmly. I promise. Promises are just words, Grandma Milena said, appearing with packed lunches. Actions matter more. As we carried the last boxes down, Olivia stopped at her mailbox. Inside was a credit card offer, pre-approved, promising easy money. Without hesitation, she handed it to me. You take it. I don't trust myself yet. I tore it up, letting the pieces flutter into the trash. That's the first smart decision you've made in months. It won't be the last, she said quietly. I'm going to fix this, Annie. All of it. I know, I replied, watching her climb into Dad's car with nothing but a duffel bag of basic clothes. Because this time, you don't have a choice. The car pulled away, taking my sister toward her new life. One built on truth instead of theft, reality instead of illusion, and maybe, just maybe, toward redemption. The homeless shelter's kitchen buzzed with morning activity as I dropped off Olivia for her shift. She'd traded designer clothes for a simple uniform, her once perfect manicure stained from food prep. Coffee's ready, she called out to the breakfast line, and we've got fresh pastries today. A teenage girl approached the counter. Miss Olivia, can you help me with my college application later? Of course, Sarah. After lunch? I watched from the doorway as Olivia served breakfast, knowing each person's name, their stories, their struggles. The same charm that once fueled her deceptions now helped heal others. She's different, Eric said, joining me with 2 coffee cups. You can see it. The shelter director wants to promote her to program coordinator, I replied, accepting a cup. But she refused. Why? Said she needs to earn it first. Actually earn it. My phone buzzed. A credit alert. But this time it was different. A payment notification. $147 transferred from Olivia's work account to my credit card debt. That's the third payment this month, I showed Eric. She's working double shifts to pay extra. Annie, Olivia waved me over. Come meet someone. Behind the counter stood an elderly woman with kind eyes. This is Mrs. Rodriguez. She's teaching me to make authentic empanadas. For the shelter's fundraiser, Mrs. Rodriguez explained. Your sister, she works very hard. Every day, no complaints. The complaints wouldn't help anyway, Olivia said, kneading dough. Besides, I'm learning more here than I ever did in law school. Like what? Humility, gratitude, the difference between having things and having worth. The shelter director appeared, clipboard in hand. Olivia, your parole officer called. She's impressed with your progress. Thanks, but I've got a long way to go. Speaking of progress, I pulled out an envelope. This came today. Olivia wiped her hands on her apron before opening it. Her eyes widened. The Bar Association? They're reviewing my case for reinstatement? After you complete the payment plan and community service requirements, I confirmed. Dad pulled some strings. I don't deserve strings pulled. No, I agreed, but you deserve a chance to rebuild, the right way this time. She pinned the letter to the kitchen's bulletin board. Something to work toward. Miss Olivia, Sarah called from the dining area. Can you look at my essay? Go, I said. I'll help Mrs. Rodriguez with the empanadas. As Olivia sat with Sarah, reviewing college applications, I remembered our conversation from last night at our parents' house. I found my old credit card statements, she'd said over dinner. The real ones, from before, everything. I was spending $3,000 a month just on clothes. And now I have 3 outfits and more satisfaction than all those designer labels ever gave me. Mom had reached for her hand. We're proud of you, sweetheart. Don't be, Olivia had replied. Not yet. Pride has to be earned too. Back in the present, I watched my sister guide Sarah through her application, explaining concepts with the same patience she now showed herself. She helps everyone, Mrs. Rodriguez said, crimping empanada edges. Last week, she stayed late to teach Miguel English. Yesterday, she helped Rosa find a job. The old Olivia would have considered that beneath her. The old Olivia was a mask, she replied wisely. This one? She's real. My phone buzzed again. Another payment notification. Smaller this time, but steady. Like Olivia's recovery. Annie, Olivia called. Sarah has a question about student loans. Maybe you could explain? You're better with money than I am. I joined them at the table, spreading out financial aid forms. As I explained interest rates and repayment terms, I caught Olivia watching me with something new in her eyes. Not envy, not resentment, just simple, genuine admiration. You really know your stuff, she said softly. So do you, I replied. Just different stuff now. Sarah looked between us. Are you guys really sisters? You seem more like friends. Olivia and I exchanged glances. We're becoming both, I said. And there it was, the truth we'd both been working toward. Not perfect sisters, not rival sisters, just sisters, finding our way back to each other through honesty, hard work, and time. Ready for another double shift? I asked Olivia. She tied her apron tighter. Ready? And Annie, thank you for not giving up on me. That's what sisters do, I replied. The real ones anyway. She smiled, not her old dazzling smile, but something more genuine, more earned, like everything else in her new life.
The email glowed on my screen like a digital dagger to the heart. Congratulations to Lisa Parker on her promotion to Senior Vice President of Operations. My hands trembled as I read further, seeing my own project proposals, word for word, listed as her innovative new initiatives. I'm Mara, and until 20 minutes ago, I thought I was on track to become the youngest SVP in company history. Now I sat frozen in my corner office, watching my dream job slip through my fingers, stolen by none other than my sister-in-law. "Did you see the announcement?" Paige poked her head into my office, her face a mixture of concern and anger. "This is insane, Mara. Those are your proposals." "I know." My voice came out steadier than I felt. "She must have accessed them when she stayed at our place last month. Remember when she said she needed to use my laptop because hers was acting up?" "That snake." Paige closed the door behind her. "You have to fight this." My phone buzzed, a text from Lisa herself. "Hope you're not too disappointed. Business is business. Still on for family dinner Sunday." The emoji made my blood boil. I'd welcomed her into my home, shared my dreams over wine, treated her like a sister. Now I understood why she'd been so interested in my projects, asking detailed questions, taking notes for inspiration. "Mara?" Kenneth's voice came through my office phone. My brother, Lisa's husband. "Can we talk?" I picked up, my throat tight. "There's nothing to talk about." "Lisa told me she got the promotion. She said you'd be happy for her." "Happy?" I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "Kenny, she stole my work, my proposals, everything I've been developing for the past year." Silence on the line. Then, "That's a serious accusation, Mara. Maybe you're just—" "Check my emails from 3 months ago," I cut him off. The exact same proposals, down to the implementation timeline. She didn't even bother changing the formatting. "I'm sure there's an explanation." "There is. Your wife is a thief." More silence. "Don't do anything rash, okay? We're family." Family. The word tasted bitter now. After hanging up, I started digging through my sent emails, building my case. That's when I found it, an email chain I'd been copied on by mistake. Lisa to the board, dated 2 months ago. "As discussed, I've identified areas where we can streamline operations. I'll have detailed proposals ready once Mara's position is redistributed." My hands shook as I forwarded the emails to my personal account. They'd planned this. While I was sharing holiday meals with them, they were plotting my professional execution. "Ms. Daniels?" My assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "Mr. Thompson would like to see you." Walking to the CEO's office felt like moving through molasses. Lisa stood by his desk, wearing my favorite shade of red. The one I'd told her made me feel powerful during presentations. "Ah, Mara." Thompson smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "In light of our organizational restructuring, we'll be moving you to special projects under Lisa's leadership." "You mean under the person who stole my work?" The words burst out before I could stop them. Lisa's face remained perfectly composed. "I understand you're upset about not getting the promotion, but these accusations are beneath you, Mara. We value your contributions," Thompson added, "but this attitude isn't helping anyone." I looked between them. Thompson, who I'd respected for years, and Lisa, who destroyed that respect in one calculated move. "You're right. This attitude isn't helping anyone." I walked out straight to my office and began packing my personal items. "You can't just leave." Paige followed me, watching as I filled a box with photos and awards. "Fight this." "Oh, I will." I pulled out my phone and dialed. "Dad, remember when you said I had good instincts for business? I need your advice." My father's voice was warm, steady. "What happened, sweetheart?" "Lisa happened." I explained everything while continuing to pack. "I can't stay here, Dad. Not under her." "Then don't." He paused. "Remember what I always say about setbacks? They're just setups for comebacks." "Exactly. Come see me tomorrow. I have some ideas you might be interested in." As I walked out of the building, box in hand, my phone buzzed again. Another text from Lisa. "I hope we can still maintain a professional relationship. Family is everything." I didn't respond. Instead, I saved the message, along with all the evidence I'd collected. Something told me they might come in handy someday. Looking up at the towering office building that had been my second home for 5 years, I made a promise to myself. This wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning of a new chapter, and this time, I'd write it myself. So, What exactly is your big idea? Yasmin set down her coffee cup and leaned forward across my father's antique dining table. 3 months had passed since my dramatic exit from corporate life, and I'd finally gathered the courage to share my plans. Women like me, I said, spreading out my business plan. Professionals who've been pushed aside, undermined, or straight up sabotaged. There are thousands of us, and we need more than just another networking platform. Dad, sitting at the head of the table, nodded encouragingly. Go on, sweetheart. I'm thinking of a full-service empowerment company. Career coaching, legal support, startup incubation, everything I wish I'd had when Lisa pulled the rug out from under me. The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. Speaking of the devil, Yasmin pulled out her phone. Have you seen her latest LinkedIn post? Excited to announce our record-breaking quarter. Don't show me. I held up my hand. I'm done letting her live rent-free in my head. That's my girl, Dad smiled, sliding a folder across the table. Which is why I think you'll be interested in this. Inside was a check, a big one. I looked up, startled. Dad, no, I can't. It's not a gift, it's an investment. He tapped the folder. I've been watching you these past months. You're not broken, you're burning with purpose. And I want in on the ground floor. Yasmin grabbed my hand. Me too. I've got savings, and more importantly, I've got skills. You need a tech expert? I'm your girl. My eyes welled up. You guys, don't cry. Yasmin laughed. We've got work to do. What are we calling this venture? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. An unknown number, but I answered anyway. Mara, it's Paige. Can you talk? I put the phone on speaker. What's up? You won't believe what's happening here. Paige's voice was low, conspiratorial. Lisa's big initiatives. They're falling apart. That sustainability project she claimed would save millions. The numbers were completely wrong. Wrong how? Like, catastrophically wrong. And guess who's scrambling to fix it? I felt a familiar twist in my gut. Let me guess. She's blaming everyone but herself? Bingo. But that's not even the best part. Remember James from accounting? He's been asking questions about some irregular expense reports. Yasmin and Dad exchanged looks. I gripped the phone tighter. Thanks for letting me know, Paige. After hanging up, Yasmin raised an eyebrow. Karma's working fast. Maybe, I said, turning back to my business plan. But I'm not counting on Karma. I'm counting on us. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. We rented a small office space, built a website, and started reaching out to potential clients. Every day brought new challenges, but also new possibilities. One morning, as I was setting up our conference room, my brother Kenneth showed up unannounced. Nice place, he said, looking around awkwardly. Lisa misses you at family dinners. I'm sure she does. I continued arranging chairs. What do you want, Kenny? Can't a brother check on his sister? A brother who hasn't returned my calls for 3 months. He had the grace to look ashamed. Look, I know things are complicated, but Lisa's under a lot of pressure at work. Stop. I turned to face him. I don't want to hear about Lisa's problems. She made her choices. She's still family. Family doesn't steal from family. Before he could respond, Yasmin burst in. Mara, we got it. The Women's Business Association wants us to present at their annual conference. Kenneth stepped back. I should go. You should. I didn't watch him leave. Yasmin waited until the door closed. You okay? Better than okay. I picked up my tablet. Pull up the presentation template. We're going to show these women exactly what we can do for them. That evening, as we celebrated our first big break with takeout and wine, my phone lit up with a text from Paige. Thought you'd want to know. Board meeting today was intense. Lisa looks scared. Something's coming. I showed the message to Yasmin, who raised her glass. To Karma? No. I smiled, thinking of all the women who'd already reached out to us for help. To new beginnings, and to writing our own stories. Dad called just as we were finishing up. Proud of you, kiddo, but be careful. Success is the best revenge, but it can also be lonely. I'm not lonely, Dad. I looked at Yasmin. still working on our presentation despite the late hour. I'm just getting started. As I drove home that night, I passed my old office building. Lisa's light was still on, her silhouette visible against the window. For a moment, I felt a twinge of something. Not quite pity, not quite satisfaction. Then I remembered her smirk as she took my job, and I pressed the accelerator. I had my own light to keep burning now, and it was getting brighter every day. And that's how we helped Sarah recover her stolen intellectual property and launch her own consulting firm, I concluded, stepping away from the podium to enthusiastic applause. 6 months into running my company, and our success stories were starting to pile up. As the conference room cleared out, a woman approached me, her eyes bright with tears. "Your story about your sister-in-law. It's exactly what happened to me. I thought I was alone." "You're not alone anymore," I handed her my card. "That's why we exist." Yasmin appeared at my elbow with her laptop. "Mara, you need to see this." She pulled up a financial news website. The headline made my heart skip. "Major accounting irregularities discovered at Summit Corp. Senior executive under investigation." "It doesn't name Lisa specifically," Yasmin said, but Paige just texted, "The whole office is in chaos." My phone buzzed, Kenneth calling. I let it go to voicemail. "Mara," a familiar voice made me turn. Paige stood there, looking nervous but determined. "Can we talk somewhere private?" We found an empty meeting room. Paige closed the door carefully before speaking. "It's worse than the article says. Lisa's been cooking the books for months. Remember those sustainability projects? She's been funneling money through shell companies." "How do you know this?" "Because I'm on the internal audit team." Paige pulled out her tablet. "Look at these transactions, all approved by Lisa, all inflated by at least 40%. My hands shook as I scrolled through the documents. "Does Kenny know?" "I don't think so. But Mara..." Paige hesitated. "The board meets tomorrow. This could end badly for her." As if on cue, my phone buzzed again, Dad this time. I answered. "Have you seen the news?" he asked without preamble. "I'm looking at more than the news," I replied, still scanning the documents. "It's bad, Dad." "Kenneth just called me, frantic, says Lisa's not making sense, talking about leaving the country." My stomach dropped. "She what?" "I know that tone, sweetheart. What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking Karma's not just a bitch. She's got receipts." After hanging up, I turned to Paige. "Send me everything. Legally obtained copies only." "Already done." She squeezed my arm. "Be careful, okay?" Back in our office, Yasmin was fielding calls from reporters. No comment had become her favorite phrase. "They're circling," she said, hanging up. "What's our play?" Before I could answer, our office door burst open. Lisa stood there, mascara streaked down her face, looking nothing like the polished executive who'd stolen my job. "You did this," she hissed. "You're behind this investigation." I stood slowly. "I haven't been near Summit Corp in months. You did this to yourself." "Please," she stepped closer. "You have to help me. Tell them it was all a misunderstanding." "Like when you stole my work? Was that a misunderstanding?" "That was different. I had to take that chance. You don't understand the pressure." "The pressure to commit fraud?" I picked up my phone. "Should I call Kenneth? Tell him about his wife's creative accounting?" "Don't." She grabbed my arm. "Kenny can't know. Nobody can know. I'll lose everything." Yasmin moved between us. "I think you should leave." "Mara, please." Lisa's voice cracked. "We're family." "Family?" I laughed. "You destroyed that the day you decided to betray me. Now you want my help because Karma finally caught up with you?" "I made a mistake." "No, you made choices. Multiple choices over months. To steal my work, to lie, to commit fraud. Those weren't mistakes, Lisa. They were calculated decisions." She slumped against the wall. "What am I supposed to do?" "That's not my problem." I turned away. "Please leave before I call security." After she left, Yasmin touched my shoulder. "You okay?" "No." I sat heavily in my chair. But I will be. My phone buzzed with a text from Kenneth. We need to talk. It's about Lisa, please. Another text followed immediately. She's not who I thought she was. I found something in her office. I showed the messages to Yasmin. What would you do? I'd remember who I am, she replied, and what our company stands for. I nodded slowly, then picked up my phone to text Kenneth back. Coffee tomorrow morning. Bring whatever you found. That night, as I drove home, I passed a newsstand. The evening edition featured Lisa's company on the front page. The photo showed her walking into the building, head high, wearing that red dress, my power color. But it wasn't power I felt anymore when I thought of Lisa. It wasn't even anger. It was something more complicated, a mix of vindication and an unexpected weight of responsibility. My phone lit up with another text from Paige. Board meeting moved up to 8 a.m. tomorrow. They're going for blood. I turned off my phone and kept driving. Tomorrow would bring what it brought. Tonight, I needed to decide what kind of person I wanted to be when it did. Kenneth slid a manila envelope across the coffee shop table. I found these in Lisa's home office last night. She doesn't know I have them. Inside were bank statements, offshore account details, and emails that made my stomach turn. The fraud went deeper than anyone suspected. She's been doing this for years, Kenneth's voice cracked. Even before what she did to you. I pushed the envelope back. Why are you showing me this? Because I don't know what to do. He looked older somehow, his usual confidence shattered. She's my wife, but this is criminal. And what she did to you? Mr. and Ms. Daniels. A sharp-suited woman approached our table. I'm Rebecca Walsh from Morgan & Stanley Ventures. May I join you? Kenneth stood. I should go. Mara, just help me figure this out. After he left, Rebecca got straight to business. We've been watching your company's growth. Your focus on women's empowerment and corporate accountability is exactly what we're looking for. Looking for? We're preparing to launch a $100 million fund focused on female-led startups. We want you to head it. My coffee cup froze halfway to my mouth. Excuse me? Your background in corporate operations, combined with your recent success in advocacy and entrepreneurship, makes you perfect for this position. She slid across her card. Think about it. We'll need an answer by Friday. As she left, my phone buzzed with a text from Yasmin. Emergency, get back here now. I found Yasmin in our office, staring at her computer screen. Look at this email. It was from Summit Corp's board of directors, requesting a meeting with me. Today, they want to discuss mutual opportunities for collaboration, Yasmin read. What does that even mean? It means they're scrambling. I checked my watch. The meeting's in 2 hours. Are you going? Of course I'm going. Walking into Summit Corp's lobby felt surreal. The security guard did a double take but waved me through. In the elevator, I caught my reflection. Power suit, straight spine, steady gaze. Not the same woman who'd left in tears 6 months ago. The boardroom fell silent as I entered. Mr. Thompson sat at the head of the table, looking uncomfortable. Lisa's chair was conspicuously empty. Ms. Daniels, Thompson gestured to a seat. Thank you for coming on such short notice. Why am I here? We're facing a situation. He cleared his throat. Given your company's expertise in corporate accountability and women's advocacy, we thought... You thought I could help clean up Lisa's mess? I interrupted. The same Lisa who stole my work and forced me out. We've recently become aware of certain oversights in our previous handling of your departure. Oversights? I laughed. Is that what we're calling fraud and theft now? The door burst open. Lisa stood there, face pale. What is she doing here? Lisa, please wait outside, Thompson ordered. No, she strode in. Whatever you're offering her, I can explain everything. The accounts, the projects. Stop talking, Thompson snapped. Your access to company systems has been suspended pending investigation. Lisa's phone rang. She glanced at it, then practically ran from the room. Ms. Daniels, Thompson continued, we'd like to offer you a position on our board of directors. Your experience... No. I stood up. But I will offer you something. My company specializes in corporate accountability and women's empowerment. You clearly need both. We can consult on restructuring your leadership protocols, but I won't be part of your organization again. Name your price. My usual consulting fee, plus a public acknowledgement of what happened 6 months ago. Thompson's face tightened, but he nodded. In the elevator going down, my phone rang. Paige. Lisa just cleared out her office and left, she said breathlessly. Security's reviewing the surveillance footage now. I stepped out into the lobby just in time to see Lisa rushing through the revolving doors, her arms full of files. Lisa, I called out. She turned, mascara streaking down her face again. Come to gloat. No, but you need to stop running. It only makes things worse. Easy for you to say. You're winning. The perfect revenge, right? This isn't revenge. This is consequence. Her phone rang again. This time I saw the caller ID. FBI. The color drained from her face. I have to go. Lisa, but she was already running toward the parking garage. Back at my office, I found both Kenneth and my father waiting. The venture capital offer, the board position, Lisa running. Dad shook his head. Quite a morning. What are you going to do? Kenneth asked quietly. I looked at the Morgan & Stanley proposal on my desk, then at the manila envelope Kenneth had given me, and finally, at my company's mission statement framed on the wall. Empowering women, ensuring accountability. I'm going to make a call, I said, reaching for my phone. But first, Kenny, you need to tell me everything you know about those offshore accounts. The weight of the decision settled over the room. Sometimes karma needs a little help arriving at the right destination. Breaking news. Summit Corporation's Senior Vice President Lisa Parker escorted from premises amid federal investigation. The news anchor's voice filled our conference room as we watched the scene unfold on the wall-mounted TV. Turn it up, Yasmin called out, just as the camera showed Lisa being led out by FBI agents, her red dress a stark contrast against their dark suits. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since the story broke. Kenneth, Dad, reporters, even Mr. Thompson trying to damage control. I ignored them all, focusing instead on the email I was drafting to Morgan & Stanley Ventures. Mara. Paige burst into the room, out of breath. You need to see this. She handed me her tablet, open to an internal Summit Corp memo. My eyes widened as I read. Lisa hadn't just stolen my work. She'd been systematically taking credit for other employees' projects for years, all while running her embezzlement scheme. There's more, Paige said. Remember that sustainability project? The money wasn't just going to shell companies. It was funding a private account in the Cayman Islands. How much? I asked. Millions. Paige's voice dropped. And Kenneth's name is on the account too. The room went silent except for the TV reporters' continued commentary. I looked up at the screen, where they were now showing a split image, Lisa being escorted out, and me giving a speech at last week's Women in Business conference. What are you going to do? Yasmin asked quietly. Before I could answer, my father walked in. I just got off the phone with Kenneth. He's at the FBI field office, cooperating fully. Says he had no idea about the accounts until yesterday. Do you believe him? I asked. Dad sat heavily. I do. Your brother's many things, but he's not a thief. My phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. Please help me. I have nowhere else to go. Elle. I showed it to Dad. He frowned. She made her bed. I know. I stood up, gathering my things. But I need to see this through. Where are you going? Yasmin called after me. To make sure karma finishes what she started. I found Lisa exactly where I expected, in the small park where we used to have lunch together, back when I thought we were friends. She sat on our usual bench, still in that red dress, staring at nothing. The FBI is looking for you, I said, sitting beside her. I know. Her voice was hollow. Kenneth's telling them everything. Did you really think you wouldn't get caught? She laughed bitterly. I thought I was invincible. Every time I got away with something, it got easier to take more. Your job, other people's work, the money, it was all so easy. Until it wasn't. Until it wasn't, she agreed. Now I've lost everything. My job, my husband, my freedom. You lost those things the moment you decided to steal them from others. I pulled out my phone. I'm calling Kenneth to come get you. Wait. She grabbed my arm. There's something you should know. That day when I took your job, I was already under investigation. I thought if I could just get that promotion, access more accounts, I could cover everything up. So I was just collateral damage. You were convenient. She wiped her eyes. God, that sounds awful, doesn't it? I really have become a monster. My phone buzzed. A news alert. FBI issues warrant for Lisa Parker's arrest. They're going to find you, I said. You can either run and make it worse or face it now. Why do you care? You won. Your company's successful. You've got that venture capital offer, the board seat. I turned those down. She looked at me, surprised. Why? Because success isn't about taking what belongs to others. It's about building something of your own. I stood up. Something real. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. It's your choice, Lisa. Run or face it. But whatever you decide, this is the last time I'm getting involved in your drama. She stood slowly, smoothing down her dress. I really did love being part of your family, you know. I know. That's what makes it worse. The sirens were very close now. Lisa squared her shoulders. Tell Kenneth. Tell him I'm sorry. Tell him yourself. In court. As the police cars pulled up, I walked away, not looking back. My phone buzzed with a text from Yasmin. You okay? I typed back. Getting there. Start the coffee. We've got real work to do. Back at the office, the TV was still running the story, but nobody was watching anymore. Instead, my team was gathered around our conference table, working on our latest client case. Another woman fighting to reclaim what was stolen from her. Welcome back, boss, Yasmin said, sliding a coffee my way. Ready to change the world? I looked at my company's logo on the wall, then at the dedicated faces around the table. One woman at a time, I replied, picking up a marker. Now, let's get to work. The prosecution rests, Your Honor. The words echoed through the courtroom as I sat in the back row, watching Lisa's world crumble under the weight of evidence. 3 months had passed since her arrest. Kenneth sat 2 rows ahead of me, his shoulders slumped. He hadn't spoken to Lisa since that day, filing for divorce the week after her indictment. During the recess, he found me in the hallway. Thanks for coming. I know you didn't have to. Someone should witness this. I handed him a coffee. How are you holding up? Honestly, I keep wondering if I should have seen it coming. All those late nights she claimed she was working. She was working, just not on what you thought. His phone buzzed, a text from Lisa's lawyer. His face went pale. She wants to see you. Me? Why? Says she has a proposal, something about making things right. I found Lisa in a conference room, flanked by her legal team. The red dress was gone, replaced by a modest grey suit that made her look smaller, older. 5 minutes, the guard announced. Mara. Lisa's voice trembled. I need your help. I think we're past that. Please, just listen. She slid a folder across the table. I want to make a deal. My testimony about corporate fraud at Summit in exchange for a job at your company. I stared at her. You're joking. I know it sounds crazy, but think about it. Who better to help women fight corporate corruption than someone who's been on the other side? I know all the tricks, all the methods. Because you used them. On me, on everyone. Exactly. I could be an asset. Help you prevent what I did to others. While avoiding jail time, she flinched. The prosecutor's offering 15 years. With your support, maybe we could get it down to... Stop. I stood up. You still don't get it, do you? This isn't about making deals or finding shortcuts. It's about consequences. I'm facing consequences. My marriage is over. My career is destroyed. Those aren't consequences, Lisa. Those are results of your actions finally catching up with you. I picked up my bag. The answer is no. Wait, she grabbed my arm. What about family? What about forgiveness? The guard stepped forward, but I waved him off. Family? You destroyed that the moment you decided to steal from me. Forgiveness? That's not something you negotiate for. It's something you earn. Then let me earn it. Give me a chance to... Time's up, the guard announced. Back in the hallway, Kenneth was waiting. What did she want? A get-out-of-jail-free card. I showed him the folder. She wanted me to hire her as some kind of corporate fraud expert. He laughed, but it was hollow. That sounds like Lisa, always looking for an angle. My phone buzzed. Yasmin. Turn on the news now. I pulled up the live stream on my phone. The headline made my heart stop. Summit Corp CEO Thompson resigns amid expanding fraud investigation. Holy shit, Kenneth whispered, reading over my shoulder. The reporter continued. Sources say the investigation has uncovered systematic fraud, reaching the highest levels of management. Lisa Parker's testimony could now implicate dozens of executives. I looked at Kenneth. Did you know about this? No, but it explains a lot. Why they promoted her so fast, why they were so quick to take her side against you. Another text from Yasmin. Reporter asking for comment. What do we say? I typed back, no comment, yet. The courthouse doors burst open as reporters flooded in, cameras flashing. Lisa's lawyer pushed through the crowd towards us. Ms. Daniels, the offer still stands. Lisa's testimony could bring down the entire corrupt system at Summit. With your support. My support? I cut him off. You mean my company's reputation? Our credibility? Think about the bigger picture. This could be a landmark case for corporate accountability. It already is. I turned to face the reporters. No comment except this. Corporate accountability isn't about making deals. It's about justice. Later that evening in my office, Dad brought pizza and perspective. You did the right thing. Did I? I watched the news coverage on mute. Maybe she could have helped other women. Or maybe she would have found new victims. He handed me a slice. Some people only learn lessons the hard way. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Lisa. I understand now, I'm sorry, for real this time. I showed it to Dad. Think she means it? Maybe, but that's not your problem anymore. He was right. On my desk, 3 new client files waited. Women fighting their own battles against corporate corruption. Real women who needed real help, not someone looking for an easy way out. I picked up the first file, ready to get back to work. Lisa's story wasn't mine to fix anymore. She'd have to write her own ending, just like I'd written mine. Want to hear about our newest client? I asked Dad, opening the file. He smiled, settling in. Always. Guilty on all counts. The judge's verdict cut through the courtroom like a knife. Lisa stood motionless as the sentence was read. 12 years, with possibility of parole after 8. I hadn't planned to attend the sentencing, but Kenneth had called that morning. I can't face this alone, he'd said. Now, watching Lisa being led away, I felt an unexpected emptiness where satisfaction should have been. The red dress was long gone, replaced by standard-issue beige, but she held her head high until the last moment. Then, at the doorway, she turned. Our eyes met. No words, just a long look that said everything we'd left unsaid. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Ms. Daniels, how does it feel to see justice served? Will your company be handling the class action lawsuit against Summit Corp? Any comment on the CEO's resignation? Kenneth grabbed my arm, pulling me through the crowd. Cars this way. Once inside, he slumped against the seat. It's really over. The trial is over, I corrected. The rest is just beginning. My phone rang. Yasmin. You need to get back here, now. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, but there's someone here you need to meet. I found Yasmin in our conference room with a woman I recognized immediately, Margaret Walsh, Summit Corp's former CFO, who'd resigned 2 weeks ago. "Ms. Daniels," Margaret stood. "I've been following your work. Very impressive." "Thank you, but why are you here?" She placed a thick folder on the table. "Because what Lisa did. She learned it from somewhere. And I have 20 years of documents proving systematic fraud at Summit Corp." Yasmin's eyes widened. "You're turning whistleblower?" "I'm making things right." Margaret's voice was firm. "Lisa Parker was a symptom. I'm here to help you treat the disease." My phone buzzed. A message from the prison. Lisa requesting a visit. "Excuse me." I stepped out, dialing Kenneth. "Did you get one too?" "Yeah." He sounded tired. "She wants to tell us everything. About Summit, about the other executives." "Are you going?" "I don't know, are you?" I looked back at the conference room, where Margaret was spreading out documents. I think Lisa's story isn't ours anymore." Back in the conference room, Margaret was explaining the depth of Summit's corruption. "They've been doing this for decades. Lisa was just following an established playbook. That doesn't excuse what she did," I said. "No," Margaret agreed, "but it explains why she thought she could get away with it. We all did, for so long." My father arrived as we were going through the documents. One look at the scene and he understood. "How big is this?" he asked. "Bigger than Lisa," I replied. "Bigger than Summit Corp." "Good." He rolled up his sleeves. "Then let's get to work." Hours passed as we built the case. My phone kept buzzing, reporters, lawyers, and finally, another message from Lisa. "I know you won't visit. I understand why. But please know, watching you build something real, something that helps people, it made me see what I could have been, what I threw away. I'm sorry. For real this time." Yasmin read over my shoulder. "Do you believe her?" "I believe she means it. Now." I put the phone away. "But we've got bigger things to focus on." Margaret nodded. "The whole system needs to change." "Then let's change it." I stood up, moving to the whiteboard. "Start from the beginning. Show me everything." As night fell, Kenneth brought dinner. He looked at our work, walls covered in documents, flowcharts connecting decades of corruption. "Lisa was right about one thing," he said quietly. "You did build something real." "We built something real," I corrected, gesturing to my team. "All of us." Dad squeezed my shoulder. "Ready to take on the whole corrupt system?" I looked around the room, at Yasmin's determined face, Margaret's wealth of evidence, my father's proud smile, and even Kenneth's newfound strength. "Actually," I said, picking up a marker, "I think the system's not ready for us." My phone buzzed one final time, a news alert. "Lisa Parker agrees to testify against Summit Corp executives." "Well," Yasmin said, reading over my shoulder, "looks like karma's not finished yet." "No," I agreed, turning back to our work, "but neither are we." The night stretched ahead, filled with purpose and possibility. Lisa's story had ended, but ours was just beginning. And this time, we weren't just fighting for one person's justice, we were fighting to change the whole game. "All right, team," I called out, facing our wall of evidence. "Show me where we start. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about getting better, doing better, and making sure what happened to you never happens to anyone else. That's not karma, that's justice." "All rise," the bailiff's voice echoed through the packed courtroom. The Summit Corp trial had drawn to its dramatic conclusion, with Lisa's testimony proving crucial in bringing down the entire corrupt leadership. I sat between Kenneth and my father, watching as the judge prepared to deliver the verdicts. Yasmin squeezed my hand as Thompson and 5 other executives stood to face justice. "Guilty." The word rang out 6 times, followed by sentences that would ensure none of them would see the outside of a prison for at least a decade. Outside, reporters thrust microphones in my face. "Ms. Daniels, how does it feel to see your former employers brought to justice?" "This isn't about personal vindication," I said, the words coming naturally now. "This is about changing a system that enabled corruption at every level. And we're just getting started." Back at our offices, no longer small but occupying an entire floor downtown, Margaret waited with champagne. To justice, she raised her glass. To change, Yasmin added. My phone buzzed, a call from the prison. I stepped away to answer. The newspapers are calling you a hero. Lisa's voice was different now, humbler. They're right. I'm not a hero, Lisa. I'm just doing what needs to be done. I know. That's what makes you different from me. She paused. Kenneth visited yesterday. We signed the divorce papers. I know, he told me. He's different too, stronger. She took a breath. I've been working with the prison's education program, teaching women about financial literacy, trying to help them avoid my mistakes. Good. That's good, Lisa. I'll never make up for what I did to you, but maybe I can help others make better choices. After hanging up, I returned to find Dad in my office, holding a familiar red dress. Found this in the storage room, he said. Thought you might want to decide what to do with it. I took the dress, the one Lisa had worn the day she stole my job. It felt like a lifetime ago. You know what? I grabbed my scissors. I have an idea. In our company's workshop space, where we helped women design and launch their businesses, I laid the dress on the cutting table. What are you doing? Yasmin asked, watching me cut the fabric into squares. Making something new. I held up a piece. Each square becomes part of a quilt. We'll hang it here, remind every woman who comes through that they can transform anything, even their worst moments, into something meaningful. Kenneth appeared in the doorway. Need help? Together we cut and arranged the squares. Other team members joined in, adding their own touches. By evening, the quilt took shape. A striking pattern of reds and blacks, with our company logo centered proudly. It's beautiful, Margaret said, helping us hang it. But why keep any reminder of that time? Because every woman who walks in here needs to know that setbacks don't define you. It's what you build from them that matters. My phone lit up with another news alert. Summit Corp to be dissolved, assets redistributed to fraud victims. Speaking of building, Yasmin called from her desk, the Women's Business Incubator program has 300 applications for next month. Good, I smiled. Let's help them all. Dad appeared with dinner. Pizza, just like always. Proud of you, kiddo. But what's next? I looked around at my team, my family now, really. Kenneth, finding his own strength in helping others. Yasmin, turning her tech skills into tools for empowerment. Margaret, using her insider knowledge to prevent corruption. Even Lisa, in her own way, trying to make amends. Next, I picked up a slice. We keep going. There are more companies like Summit out there. More women needing help. More systems needing change. More quilts to make? Kenneth smiled. More everything. I moved to the window, looking out at the city lights. But this time, we're ready. This time, we're stronger. The office hummed with energy, phones ringing, keyboards clicking, voices discussing strategies and solutions. On the wall, the quilt caught the evening light, its pattern a reminder that beauty can come from broken things, that power can grow from pain. Hey, Yasmin called out. Woman on line 1, says her boss just stole her prototype design. I picked up the phone, catching my reflection in the window. Straight spine, clear eyes, ready smile. Not a victim anymore, not even just a survivor. Hello, I said. You've reached Mara Daniels. Tell me your story. Because that's what we'd become, not just a company, but a place where stories of injustice became stories of triumph, where women found their voice, their power, their way forward. And my story was still being written, one client at a time, one victory at a time, one change at a time, just the way it should be.